Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 13th episode of the story, and a chance meeting leads Naruto Uzumaki to learn Genjutsu. Sure, he lacks talent, but once Naruto sets his mind to something, he will never give up until he completes it, and Naruto will not stop until he is a master of Genjutsu. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Now let's begin. He was uncertain about what would occur upon his return. He found himself in a difficult situation where he had to face the memories of his past, the validation and appreciation that came with leaving his comfort zone behind, as well as the rejection and an overwhelming sense of unpredictability that affected everything else. The reminder that he had to come back someday, even if it was just to face his past and let it go, was all too often in his head. He was unable to provide answers to questions about his actions and methods, not as he was. There was no way to escape the inevitable. He had to make a comeback. He had to alter his plans if he wanted to come back. He took longer than anticipated to determine his desired personality and words, but he eventually succeeded. He faced challenging circumstances and fought to survive, but his efforts were in vain, leaving him vulnerable to the challenges of time and death. He had successfully escaped from the hole he had fallen into. He returned with fresh eyes and a more powerful heart. Recognizing that he wasn't alone stimulated his motivation and provided him with the strength to persevere through challenging circumstances. He came back. He emerged victorious in the battle against his own will. Here he was, ready to plunge into the unknown. The fact that Kurenai was still behaving like his affectionate girlfriend was a direct insult. Naruto's battles and tears were incomprehensible. She took away a significant amount of his resources, and it required him to undergo complete training to prevent an explosion. Even though his emotions were on the verge of boiling, he still held onto the sink's edge and took a whiff. They boiled and evaporated, but in the end, he was able to find his composure. The calmness was followed by clarity. With that clarity, he was able to understand what had occurred. He chose to let her squirm, as it was necessary to make sure she wasn't just on a mission. It was nice to hear her talk about his progress or compliment his looks, but it didn't mean she felt real. The bracelet he had given her was not being seen by either of them. It was a pleasant surprise that she had kept it after all this time, to be honest. He recollected the emotional reaction she had to him having given it to her, and he believed she also had similar feelings. The gesture was a positive one as it allowed her to remind him about their relationship without having to say anything and also enabled him to see through her clever ploy. Her apology was incredibly genuine, and her acting skills were commendable. She had the courage to apologize for rejecting him and convey her heartfelt remorse. She not only accepted his rejection with kindness and understanding, but she also chose to avoid further manipulation. It was in line with all the things he knew about her, but even then, that still could have been a falsehood. She persisted in her mission. If she hadn't been putting in so much effort to respect his emotions, it would have been easier. He would have ended their relationship if he had known that she was pregnant. Despite this, she was not pregnant. The task was not as effortless as it appears. He had a lot of ideas for how their conversation would turn out, but it did not go as he had anticipated. It was erroneous for him to believe that nothing had transpired. Even after learning, he still couldn't distinguish between truth and falsehood. He was not going to voice his dissatisfaction. When all was said and done, he'd make sure that everything was settled on his terms. The situation was within his control, as he had no other option but to make it happen. The loyalty mission was carried out without his approval, without any consideration for its impact. He would not permit them to apologize unless he requested one. He had finished being pushed around. Certain aspects of Kurenai were beginning to appear more comprehensible. Having acknowledged that she had always been unwilling to have an intimate experience with him, he realized that it wasn't his fault. She was afraid of her own body. It could be related to her mission. Although being afraid was not the only reason, speculate about her intentions would not resolve any issue. During this reunion, it became evident that there was a more unsettling truth to be discovered. His love for her remained constant. He tried to keep his emotions in check when Kurenai became his girlfriend, but they were still fresh and vibrant. The situation was dreadful. He wasn't going to crawl back to her. The web of deceit that Kurenai used to keep him trapped in her clutches remained intact, even though his love for her still endured in his heart. He hoped that this situation would be less complicated. The next day, Naruto woke up with something that was missing. His old bed took up more space, but his rest was not the issue. He had a good night's sleep. The issue was not the type of toothpaste he used or the scent of his mouth, as they were almost identical. The clothing and apartment were not the only things he had to worry about. For the first time in almost 3 years, he woke up without anyone. After many years of being accompanied by Jiraiya, he was replaced by Samui. He had made a comeback to himself. Despite the difficulty, he would always appreciate having a home to call his own. Could they have made the instant ramen that took 3 minutes to boil before he enjoyed his breakfast like always? Kurenai was kind enough to stock his fridge and cupboards with fresh milk, instant ramen, vegetables, rice, etc. After finishing his missions, he attempted to make time for cooking meals on his own due to the limitations of rations and occasional restaurant inability. His performance was not affected by his poor diet. He might acknowledge Kurenai's efforts in maintaining his apartment, since she wasn't required to do it. After breakfast, he washed his dishes and discarded his garbage in the nearby bin. Prior to leaving for the village, he would have to make arrangements with his landlord to determine the payment of his rent. His locks would be changed to ensure his safety. He effortlessly entered a routine that was already familiar, but he couldn't shake off the feeling of missing out. It was hoped that Samui was managing it better than he had previously done. Breakfast would be on their agenda by this time. When she ate, she wasn't very quiet, but she was not far away from the eating. She was always available to answer his questions, and as they became more acquainted, she began asking him questions. He snatched his gear and exited his apartment, locking the door behind him. He monitored his surroundings to check if his landlord was awake, but someone else was heading straight for his apartment. On his balcony, they were positioned on the rails in the Leafs ANBU attire. With her purple hair still long and lush, the ninja was wearing a cat mask. Naruto said, "Good morning, it's good to meet you again." "Good morning, everyone. Greeting you. You're on duty, right?" She blurted out her mask, revealing her brown eyes and heart-shaped face. "I am aware of my identity, but Lady Hokage granted me the opportunity to disclose myself to you." Her expression brought a smile to her face. "Naruto, I'm glad you're here." "Thank you." Naruto's smile was met with a kind expression from him. "Igeo, I'm in agreement with you as well." Igeo moved to the floor beside him. "You've had a wonderful time," she said. "I was fortunate enough to travel extensively and form strong bonds with my friends." Igeo asked, "How are you?" "I got engaged to my boyfriend, Hey-8, and I'm thrilled about it." Naruto's eyes lit up with happiness. "Are you feeling proud of yourself?" "Exactly, I must say." Despite his struggles with romance, he wasn't so sure of two people finding love. "I am grateful for your help, which is why I say, thank you. We haven't been able to plan a major wedding yet, but we've already moved in and made arrangements to get everything ready." "When did you become engaged?" Igeo asked, waving her wrist in his grasp, with her hands tied around her waist. "After our time with the Crimson Hand, we returned to another location." Hey-8 had returned from his mission in the Land of Water, around the same time as we resumed our journey back to the Hidden Leaf. The success of his mission did not negate the impact it would have on him. "I've never witnessed him being so unwell like this before." Did Naruto suspect that he was sick? She regained her composure and shook her head. "It is a chronic disease," said Hey-8. "The symptoms are easily treatable, but there is no cure for it at this time." Despite his efforts, Hayate's injury became infected and he couldn't fully heal himself. He recounted to me how the mission prompted him to stop leaving what was significant for an uncertain future. He said, "I was cleared and I just hope he clears this mess up my head." I agreed. Naruto's expression was a smile. "I have high hopes for you guys, I'm glad you're here. I'm also content. His goodness has been a source of inspiration for me, and I'm grateful for his guidance. The fact that I can always reach out to him gives me a sense of assurance whenever I'm not present." Being able to stay in and return to his home, let alone have a place to call home, was empowering due to the fact that he could live there without worrying about rent. It was unclear if anyone would come to his apartment with him, but he felt secure in the presence of a good woman who looked out for him. Naruto inquired if the duo had gone on missions together. "Unluckily, there are no such things. I've been with Anbu for more than 10 years, but Hayate never made the jump. He was more adept at playing in the open air. Despite my lack of proficiency in Genjutsu, I was taught by him." Softly, "It's so nice." Igeo looked at his hip and said, "I saw you had a tant, talking about Genjutsu." He removed it, permitting her to inspect it. "This could be used solely as a close-range target, as it's not your primary attack route." "You're correct in my opinion. My opponent would be more attentive to my movements if I had a katana, but with this, I can easily bypass their defenses and make them feel vulnerable." Igeo nodded in agreement. "After your Genjutsu lands, it can be utilized to achieve a clean kill. It also gives you more space than a kunai would in case your target destroys your Genjutsu. It's common for conflicts to be centered on mere centimeters, but I'm certain you're aware of this." Naruto's expression was a smile. An expert's reminder is always appreciated, and I appreciate their words. "You'll require it." Igeo's expression changed to something more serious. "Today, at noon, you are expected to be at Training Ground 3, according to Lady Hokage. Ready to face a close-quarters expert?" He rubbed the back of his neck. She said, "I told you who I am going to fight with." Naruto's hand fell to his side. He stopped smiling. "I'll be geared up for it." "Good. Today, I have a few more things to say, but I'll be back in the States soon." Following their farewells, Igeo surrendered and returned to her mask. He had to prepare himself if he intended to engage in combat, and that gave him no time to waste. Naruto resolved issues with his landlord. By changing the locks in his apartment, he was aware of the time frame for paying rent. Tsunade's lease was frozen while he was away, which was a nice surprise. He discovered that his landlord had a good understanding of Kurenai and allowed her to enter his apartment, so he made sure she was given the green light to do so. He then went to the waterfall he knew and practiced his skills at. In addition to his regular workouts, he experimented with the combination of wind, chakra and Genjutsu. Finding the appropriate balance had been a tough task. He was unable to find the appropriate balance of his chakra to make it function. He could measure the amount of chakra he was exerting with his sensor, but it didn't provide the desired ratio. He was not immune to the Genjutsu's impact on his adversary, which meant it couldn't be overwhelmed by the elemental chakra. Simultaneously, the use of a small amount of elemental chakra would negate the objective of using this elementa Genjutsu. He may consider utilizing regular Genjutsu, should that be the case. After a few hours of testing, he was able to figure it out. Kurenai had outlined the process as follows: form the Genjutsu first and center the elemental ninjutting around it, while verifying that the chakra ratio was the same. He would only express his thanks to himself. He had a desire to go to the waterfall, but first, he made the journey there. Naruto managed to break the waterfall in half with a slight twist of his hands. He shook the water with both hands in his back and smiled at his work. He didn't feel as distant from the heartbreak and grief he experienced during that period, nor did recollect using training as an escape. He had a better understanding than to do so now, but he hadn't at that point in time. Shizun had steered him towards another mission, marking the start of the end. He was completely uninformed during that period, and to be honest, he still had some knowledge. His survival depended on his ability to survive, and he had to fight to stay alive. It's possible that he would have stopped fighting, but that was a long time ago. He had the opportunity to rest, so he abandoned his small clearing and ran away. With the time coming midday, it was a convenient moment to have lunch. Despite this, he was pursued by someone who sensed his chakra and suddenly stopped at the edge of the forested area. Within seconds, the man smiled and followed him closely. "Are you escaping from me? Is that a way to treat your sensei?" Naruto's expression was upbeat. "If you can't keep up, pervy sage, it's not my doing." Jiraiya expressed his laughter through the mouth. "Naruto, were you a comedian?" Naruto advised him to fun up, and he responded by telling his son. "When did you come back?" "I made a visit to give Tsunade some crucial information about the Akatsuki." Jiraiya's expression was grimacing. The three tails were taken captive by them. A scowl caused him to split his face into two. The Jinchuriki was said by Jiraiya to be absent. The Three Tails ex-Jinchuriki passed away more than 3 years ago, marking the end of their reign. The Three Tails underwent reformation recently, and the Akatsuki struck again. Naruto ingested the vomiting gas that struck his stomach. Two-tailed beasts will be available in under 2 weeks. Jiraiya swung his arms in the air. It's hard to believe that this was a chance occurrence. They were testing the hidden village's response by deploying different teams to different locations. If they were to catch a tailed beast, they would be successful even if some of their ninjas died. Naruto inquired if they had any information about where Yujito might be. "I'm not convinced of its validity, but it's not a significant issue here." An opportunity dawned on them, and they retaliated by striking. "Their failure was a result of your efforts. We now have a better understanding of their ninja and we know how they work. Refrain from feeling sorry for not being able to accomplish something. You can feel a sense of pride in what you have already accomplished." He smirked earnestly, his eyes wide open. "You're welcome, but you have to win at some point." Jiraiya was seldom opposed by him. The majority of the time, his words were comprehensible. Despite his uncertainty, Jiraiya could still aid him in understanding the source of his sensei's behavior. He was aware that it would take the Akatsuki approximately 3 days to extract a tailed beast, which gave him enough time before Haiden and Kakuzu returned. "Are you here for that reason alone?" pressed Naruto. "Undently not." Naruto chuckled, "Are you present here?" "Ah, I am not," he said. "I think that's what sounds is trying to convey. Are you diligently executing your training regimen?" The expression on Jiraiya's face caused Naruto to question him further. He opted to send brief letters to Jiraiya because he was confident about meeting him again. It was a favorable moment to inform him about the details since they were both together. "Yes, I have," Naruto declared. "I have learned to utilize this tant, and I can feel the presence of other energies around me." "How would you describe the feeling of that energy, like it's alive and well?" "Feeling the energy causes it to vibrate." Jiraiya inquired if you had tried to touch it. Naruto shook his head in an instant. "Good news. With some effort, you can begin to learn how to harness that energy." He noticed a widening of his eyes. Jiraiya said, "Ah, thank you. You'll never believe anything you've ever experienced, so be sure to trust me." Naruto's expression was one of a frown. "Were they as potent as the 9 tails?" "Nothing is worthy of that," replied the group. That undoubtedly put an end to it. However, it did evoke an additional thought. "The 9 tails chakra was first harnessed by me, sensei." Jiraiya exhibited a raised eyebrow. "When did you return from the land of snows?" "The 9 tails aided me during the mission, so I conversed with them and we came to a new agreement." I've been utilizing its chakra frequently since then, and I currently have 3 tails. He asked, "What's your motivation for using the 9 tails chakra?" with suspicion. Without any fear, Naruto looked up to his sensei. "I must make the most of my abilities to defeat the Akatsuki. My dad is convinced that I am capable of coping with this situation." Jiraiya remained unresponsive. After a few seconds, he breathed in oxygen and then proceeded to exhale. "I thought about teaching you to use more of the 9 tails chakra, but your performance was so bad that it became too dangerous for me. I didn't want to make you feel worse. I'm curious, if you can demonstrate that you have become more self-assured, how do you feel about it?" Naruto's expression was a smile. "Thanks, sensei. I'm taking my time very seriously. The 9 tails potency is not mine, I can't rely on them." Jiraiya's eyebrow widened and closed. "No, it's not. Can you explain the manner in which Naruto converses with the 9-tailed fox? It's quite eerie and terrifying. Refined and conceited. Since we finalized this deal, it hasn't been a particularly troublesome one. It aided me in saving and recovering Yujito. I'll spare you the rest, just keep it up, because I don't need to be careful. Would it be more advantageous to avoid fighting the 9-tailed fox?" "I agree with you." Jiraiya expressed a smile. "Good guy, please. Now that's all said and done, can you explain how those missions ended up?" Naruto smiled and said, "She sure did, as Samui had taken good care of her." Jiraiya's eyes gave the impression that she was seeing flashing lights. "If you have to, can you give me a complete rundown of all the details? Don't forget to include any relevant information. Is it possible for you to initiate the conversation?" Jiraiya questioned, almost losing his foot. "Is it possible to delay?" Naruto assured that it would happen quickly. Jiraiya's tone was one of dismissiveness. "Why do you experience a strange sensation whenever I speak to another girl? Was Tenten, Temari, Samui, and so on? I have no intention of cheating." Jiraiya's words were met with a grimace from the audience. "Is it okay if I want you to end up with a good woman? If things go wrong in your relationship, you can't be upset about that for the rest of your life. You're a young man, and you need to seize the chance before it's too late." Naruto's expression was one of a frown. His old face was filled with sadness as he asked, "Why do you still want to go after Grandma Tsunade?" "There's a slight difference in my perception of Tsunade with him. I'm not pursuing her for the sake of having sexual relations with the most stunning woman on the planet. I've already accomplished that." His eyes were on the verge of rupturing out of their sockets. "What about you?" Jiraiya rubbed his nose and smiled. "I'm not the type you think I am, and my reputation isn't just for show." Inadvertently, he frowned. The thing arrived almost out of nowhere, as I was referring to it. I had been trying to get Tsunade to come back home a few years back. I carried out my entire routine, but this time it was actually effective. I noticed that she was talking to me and sharing some jokes with me. I inquired whether she wished to carry on with the games in my room. She replied with a positive answer, "Yes." I agreed, she continued. I was utterly amazed by my luck, and I kept thinking that the other shoe would come out on top. However, it was not successful. We had a fantastic time. After a brief moment, his eyes shone and he blinked. I was aware that something was happening, but I didn't discount the possibility. She kept it to herself, but she was experiencing intense feelings of loneliness. I believed the deal was a one-time event, but I had to be there for her during her desperate times. Naruto maintained his loyalty to his sensei by keeping his word. This was more than just a passing fancy, it was something much bigger. "You're attracted to her, right?" "She has always been and continue to be. Although I didn't expect such a strong relationship, I am grateful for the love we have." Naruto's smile was a sign of encouragement for Jiraiya, as he spoke his words. You have a chance, sensei, but you can't go away. I'm aware, Jiraiya declared. I acknowledge that. He smirked. But enough about my mishaps. What about yours? He pondered, giving Jiraiya a brief overview of their relationship, but given that he had revealed his feelings to Tsunade, it appeared inappropriate for him to be upset. Jiraiya might be able to help him understand what he was feeling. Naruto said, I almost had sex with Samui. Jiraiya sank to the ground. You're being silly, don't you? Exactly, she said. I'm not sure. Why don't you jump to conclusions? Naruto hesitated, contemplating his next move. He provided Jiraiya with a detailed account of how his association with Samui progressed from its initial instability to the day when Tsunade terminated their partnership. Towards the end, Jiraiya was frowning, but not due to his disapproval. Naruto asked, what made you feel unprepared? In the past, he would not speak a word, but Jiraiya was taking matters into his own hands and asking genuine questions instead of simply laughing at being almost laid by his handsome teammate. I was unsure if Samui had genuine feelings for me or not. I believe that the Raikage might have sent her on a quest to seduce me because of my father's reputation. However, he was not. Jiraiya expressed his belief by stating, yes, I certainly did. She didn't seem like the type to be around. It's possible that she was being reserved to make things more interesting, but she also felt uneasy when I praised her physical beauty. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. She expresses her dislike for people staring at her. I retreated, which is why I didn't do it. His expression changed to a frown. Excellent job, Senegade. He walked away, contemplating whether he could leave it there and still have a successful time or continue on with his life. It's a relief that you didn't cheat on Kurenai. Yeah, please. Samui was not interested in participating in everything. Kurenai could use any leverage she wants to wield over him. My lack of readiness is the most significant thing, Naruto explained. I didn't want to disappoint Samui by letting her down on the way she wanted. It's better to avoid imposing it, Jiraiya stated, but he didn't elaborate on the matter. I could have made fun of him, but he wasn't interested. Can you tell me, Naruto? Do you like Samui? This was a surprise to him. He was being probed by Jiraiya. He refused to let him go without a response, which was good for his ability to maintain control. Naruto said, yeah, I like her. I have a great admiration for her. I am able to be myself in her presence, I have a liking for her, and I can rely on her greatly. Despite her occasional anger and spiteful tendencies, she's a good person. She's sincere and straightforward. She has been a great source of guidance for me. You're wondering if you have any remaining interest in Kurenai, or do you still have feelings for her? Naruto's eyes closed. I'm uncertain of what I can count on. When he opened his eyes, the tears appeared to be stinging. She says, I know she's sorry but I can't trust her. Jiraiya's eyes were piercing, but he gave Naruto another chance to smile. Despite everything, I have feelings for her that remain steadfast and unwavering. If that's the situation, you must ponder if you can let her go on. If you're able to work with her, rebuild the trust you have lost. She didn't deserve to be forgiven. You have the power to decide, Jiraiya declared, indicating his complete comprehension of the situation. If you don't have faith in her, it's not necessary to do it. Naruto nodded and declined to comment. With his lips down, he looked up at a tree nearby while waiting for Jiraiya to ask another question. Despite the fact that they had not encountered anyone during the entire conversation, only a small number of individuals arrived in this forest initially. Without any indication of Kurenai's presence, Jiraiya inquired, have you had sex with Samui? Naruto smeared his lips. What is the explanation for this statement? Yes, I would. He was uncertain about whether he could indulge her, but there wouldn't be much to keep him in his grasp. the apprehension wouldn't be as substantial. Is Samui cognizant of your relationship status? Just after she asked me to have sex with her, I revealed my secret to her. Jiraiya's expression was grimacing. Unusual action taken by the speaker. Why did you allow her to believe she had a shot? Naruto expressed disbelief. He raised his fists in an attempt to fend off the pressure before it intensified. Her interest was not in a relationship or sexual activity, and I wasn't prepared to take the plunge. Jiraiya questioned, what if she didn't take your rejection well, even though I have never deceived her? If you had known where you stood from, you would have caused more harm than good. His neck was heated. Like lava. I didn't want to make things any worse. We're in a partnership. The words, Jiraiya, sighed. It's crucial to be truthful. You may think you're saving her from heartbreak, but in reality, you are bottling up everything and hoping that she will do the right thing. The pain of rejection is temporary, regardless of the situation. The betrayal cuts go deep into the wound. Naruto's fists loosened as he breathed his final farewell. I acknowledge that. Consult the differences with Samui and Kurenai. Tell Samui if you desire to be with her. Let Kurenai know if you want to work things out or just move on. Keep both of them in the dark. I won't, Naruto declared. Jiraiya placed his hand on his shoulder. It's all well and good, I'll leave it there as well. I'll be in the village for a few days, so if you need me, please do so. Jiraiya smiles as Naruto says, can you tell me when I saw you at the hot springs? I am aware of the fact that my research is never complete, but I may need to find alternative methods. Naruto stated that he knows who to ask. His shoulder was held tightly by Jiraiya. I'm afraid I shouldn't express my feelings. It's just a matter of time. Senegade, y'all have the sensei. Naruto's expression was a smile. Thanks for the guidance. Jiraiya expressed a smile. That's why I'm here for it. Shortly after, Jiraiya departed from Naruto and headed towards more fertile areas. Although Jiraiya wasn't entirely certain about visiting the hot springs, he believed that knowing about the pervy sage would lead him to complete his research. The best place for Naruto to have lunch was at Ichiraku Ramen, as it was the perfect setting. He recognized that someone else was already eating in the vicinity, which meant he would have company while consuming a warm bowl of ramen. Upon entering the ramen booth, he swiftly took his seat in the booth. Good to see you again, Naruto, Teuchi remarked. Naruto smiled broadly and said, all right, that's me, as he proceeded to say. I am, please greet me. Air smiled at him. Good day, Naruto. How did you feel about your trip? Naruto confronted his pal. Samui, welcome to my world. Naruto, welcome to my world, Samui uttered. I didn't anticipate you would be here. She said, I heard you about this place. I figured I'd give it a go. Naruto's expression was a smile. You have made the right decision. The world's most exceptional ramen is available here. Teuchi's expression was a grimace. In regards to that matter, I am stated that they modified the menu. Instead of ramen, we offer dipping noodles as our main dish. Separate noodles are served with broth, which allows you to dip the noodles into the broth. Naruto's smile remained constant throughout. Ayam said, oh, I know it's fine, where can I get some ramen? Naruto believes that Naruto's ramen is a remnant of his time. To stay ahead of our competitors, we must adapt to changing times. Naruto made himself sit with his jaw held high up until he reached the end of his fist. Isn't it a relic? It's timeless, and Teuchi quipped, this is Ichiraku ramen for me. Don't miss out on this one by mistake. While Naruto was putting his arms on the counter, he heard someone giggle just before launching off further into more hysterics. It was not Ayam or Teuchi. He tilted his head in the direction of Samui, and she was laughing. He was completely captivated, almost forgetting about the scandal that had just occurred. She emitted a faint, unfiltered burst of laughter. His gaze remained fixed on his. During sunset, they sparkled like the sea. Naruto inquired, "What's the source of that comedic timing?" Samui expressed his surprise at how much he enjoyed eating ramen. "I need to have it, Samui. It's akin to you and history textbooks." The fact that good ramen was the best option for me wasn't surprising, especially since Ichiraku can always have his own. Samui stated that ramen is not the only flavorful dish, but it's worth trying. She leaned over her bowl of mixed drink. "Noodle dip. Examine them." He didn't want to be bad, but he did have a desire for ramen noodles. Irregularly. Upon seeing Ayam and Tucci, he felt like a complete loser for creating such an outrageous display. Finally, Naruto declared, "I'll be bringing a bowl of dipping noodles, please." Ayam's expression was one of pure happiness. "Shut up." She immediately arranged the broth and noodles in one of his bowls. The temptation was strong for him to only mix the bowls, but he thought it would be worth trying this new practice. Naruto dipped some noodles into the broth after picking up his chopsticks and placing them in his mouth. After a bit of chewing, he swallowed his food. "The ramen is heavier than the broth and noodles that are usually used," Naruto explained. Tucci responded by saying, "We still use that healthy stuff. Ayam brought us a diet ramen option when you were no longer with us. It was such a hit that we made sure to have it featured on all our meals." Naruto's smile was on his lips as he ate the dipping noodles with gusto. He couldn't resist the deliciousness, which still tasted great. "It's more satisfactory than I expected." Ayam inquired, "See?" Tucci gave him a thumbs up from behind her back. During that time, Samui was still in the process of cleaning her own bowl. Tucci inquired, "Can you recount how you and Naruto met?" Naruto stated that they came together after the Chunin exams had concluded. "Our partnership commenced a few months ago." "Is that accurate? Did you have a good time?" Ayam replied, "Merry Christmas." Despite being warned, she was eager to witness his response. Naruto's response, with a smile on his face, was, "I did," as he stated. He didn't feel ashamed to be in the company of a beautiful woman anymore. Naruto's gaze widened as he observed Samui finishing her bowl. She used a napkin to wipe her mouth and captured the image of relaxed behavior. "In what way did you and Naruto become so close?" Samui asks. According to Tucci, "For years, we've been enjoying Naruto ramen. He is our top priority and we appreciate his loyalty, which is not an overstatement." Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness. "I can't thank you enough for being such a good person. I'm enamored with the food you prepare." Ayam inquired about the dipping noodles. Did he mention that they are still edible? Naruto stated, "Yeah, I mean that as well," when he said it. He confronted Samui. "I'll be back with another bowl." "At last, I can consume more food," Samui replied. With a smile on her face, Ayam and her father got to prepare their food. "I think that's pretty cool," Samui told him. "I understand your sentiment about it." Naruto expressed his pleasure by saying, "I'm glad you joined me. I share the same beliefs and values as I do." He had always wanted to introduce his girlfriend to Tucci and Ayam, but it didn't work out as he had hoped. To some extent, he was capable of fulfilling that expectation with Samui. The adjustment to eating noodles in this new way was somewhat difficult. The combination of broth and noodles brought about a completely new flavor by blending them. Half of ramen's appeal was its flavor. He had to consume the noodles in the broth, which caused him to slow down and reflect on the flavor. Would he have any issues adding in meat or vegetables to the meal? Or would they all be served in separate bowls? He never doubted their quality. He would need more time before he recognized this as the standard. Upon finishing, he took out some money to pay for the meal. The cost of dipping noodles was a little lower than that of regular ramen. Tucci conveyed his appreciation to Naruto for welcoming him. "Samui, I had a great impression when I met you." Samui nodded in agreement. "The feeling is mutually beneficial. Thank you for taking care of Naruto." "It's not something I want to say, I am advised." "Naruto, do you think it's time for Samui to come back?" Naruto replied with a clear voice. Naruto left the ramen booth with a smile on his face, while Samui followed closely behind. Naruto inquired, "Are you occupied with something?" "No," Samui replied. "I have already dispatched my report to Lord Raikage." "When do you plan to depart?" It was a short period of time. Jiraiya's suggestion was encapsulated by his words. "I have a destination in mind," Naruto declared. "Are you interested in coming with me?" she asked him, smiling. "All right." Naruto escorted Samui to the memorial stone. Despite wanting to go alone, it was necessary for him to visit the place. He was happy having someone else with him. Naruto stated that the stone was created to honor the ninja who sacrificed their lives to defend our community. We pay homage to their sacrifices and lives, so we don't forget about them. Samui nodded in agreement. "We don't have a memorial stone in the hidden cloud, but we do try to remember our fallen comrades and make them feel as if they are our fellow soldiers." Naruto turned his back on Samui and combed through the memorial stone until he came up with what remained. Despite the fact that Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki's names were still in close proximity, he realized why it was so fitting. Samui asked, "Do you know someone on this stone?" "My parents are my caretakers. My sincere condolences to those who have gone before." A frown arose on Samui's face as he looked at her. "It's fine," Naruto said to his listeners. He also scowled. "I missed the chance to meet them because of a lack of experience. I'd like to meet them as well. It's my belief that they are good individuals." Naruto's expression was one of pure amusement. "They are," she said. The stone caught Samui's eye, reminiscent of his mother asking for his parents' names. "Is it possible that they would feel proud of you?" Jiraiya had expressed his belief that they would be proud of their achievements, but he still had questions to ask. Despite knowing that he would never have parents, the knowledge of their character and fight for them made him feel like a lost treasure. Despite the delay in learning, he had a bitter taste in his mouth and would make every effort to remember them. Naruto spent the next hour positioned near the memorial stone, contemplating his parents and the events that led up to this moment. He paused to observe the stone. The names caught Samui's attention, prompting them to spend a considerable amount of time looking at them. He was aware of some names from Hidden Leaf, a history, as well as others based on stories Kakashi had told him about. Like he said, both of Kakashi's teammates were on the stone. Obito Uchiha was a noteworthy name on the memorial stone, but all of them were killed by their own forces at their homes. It was fortunate that he had no personal acquaintances present on this stone. It would be difficult to endure the pain, and he had already spent too much time introspectively. He retreated and observed Samui. "Let's not hold back and let nothing be the case. Before going on a trip, it's important to see everything cool." An eyebrow was raised by Samui. "What's the significance of everything? What's the next step in our journey?" Naruto spent the day leading Samui around the Leaf Village. He showed her the hot springs and they drew nearer to them. Sometimes they would spend time in mixed hot springs and hang out together, but the Leaf's hot springs were not off-limits to men and women, which was acceptable for him. Jiraiya's absence or his ability to evade his censor meant that he couldn't sense him. Naruto exhibited Samui's personal training after they had taken a bath in hot springs. She admired the waterfall's warmth, and he demonstrated his ability to cut it in half, much to her admiration. He also showed her a few more places. Fortunately, they were never found by anyone he knew. It would be unfavorable if Kurenai encountered Shikamaru, even though he wouldn't have preferred to meet him. Unfortunately, their time together was very short, as he wanted to take her to more places that were much livelier than they had visited. He chose to make the most of his situation. The view of sunset was less than 10 minutes away before he realized it. He was about to take her back to her hotel, but when he offered to go away, she refused. "I desire to see your place of residence," Samui affirmed. Naruto's expression was one of dismissal. His house was within walking distance of where they lived. Upon reaching the red light district, he took her with him, grabbed her wrist, and brought her to their destination with the body flicker. He allowed her to come inside and exhibited her activities. It was a modest place, but it was larger and more spacious than any hotel room he had ever stayed in. However, it was still at home. Showing Samui where he lived was a significant step forward for them, given that they had lived together for almost 6 months. He envisioned her carrying her clothes inside or putting her favorite foods in the fridge. A statement that stated she resided in his apartment. After returning to his house, Samui stated that it was not a bad experience. "What's the plan for me?" he asked, according to Naruto. "She initiated the fight as she was pondering promoting me. Can you offer any advice? Ensure that you remain calm and exhibit all your talents. If you're being assessed, it implies that you could potentially become a Chunin. You'll need to demonstrate that you have the qualities necessary to be promoted." Naruto's expression was a smile. "Samui, you're a smart person." Her cheeks were a bright shade of pink. "I am grateful for your help, which is why I say, thank you." Jiraiya's words stuck with him as he remembered the events of the previous day. It would be a simple matter of waiting until Samui returned to the hidden cloud. Nevertheless, it was the coward's method of escape. Naruto said, "I saw my girlfriend yesterday," a line he made. "She expressed remorse for the harm caused to me and offered an apology. Despite my insincere appreciation for it, I wasn't willing to pardon her. She asked, 'Are you done with your relationship and want to keep it a secret?' Angry?" Naruto's expression was a frown, with his lip flapping open. "I didn't have a clue. When I wasn't able to see her, she came up to me." Samui's eyes ached with cold energy. "Were you aware of how she was enticing you? She wasn't being unfaithful to me, but she had other motives." His voice was oddly flat, as if his heart had been pressing against his chest. Naruto inquired, "Do you wish to end the relationship with her?" He didn't blame her for asking that question. But he certainly didn't want to face it. "I'm uncertain," Naruto declared. He smirked. The truth was present, but it wasn't meant to be. "Despite the fact that she manipulated me and lied to me, I can't shake off my emotions." With his teeth firmly planted, he felt a hollow in his stomach. "I have a feeling that I can't trust her, but it's just like something I'm not used to. What was the reason for her utilizing me and what did she gain from doing so?" He brushed his hair with both hands. "It's a difficult task. It can be, but it's not true." He didn't feel as though a burden had been lifted, but he felt more comfortable sharing his struggles openly. "It's not a simple task," Samui stated. "I initially thought my ex-boyfriend and I could reconcile, but it took me a while to talk to him about it. He informed me that he wasn't worth the emotional effort I put in to cry. The impact of his actions was still felt in my mind, but I managed to overcome it. You will, too." A small grin was visible on his face. "Thanks, Samui." With a slight irritation in her voice, Samui said, "Thank me after you've managed this." She was entitled to feel frustrated. He was making a simple decision that was unnecessary and complicated. She had a strong liking for him and wanted to be with him. Was it in the heat of the moment when she said all that? He could have asked her directly, but it would be better if he didn't. Her departure was imminent. Once more, it felt like a coward's move. Refusing to do so would be defeating his own self-loathing, as he had already made significant progress. He didn't want to keep grasping at straws to understand what little he knew. Samui, can you tell me something? Naruto examined her deep blue eyes with great interest. She had a sharp and cool attitude, but her emotions were intense. He experienced a sense of excitement that was unmatched by anything else he had seen. I understand the tone of your message, but I'm not sure what you meant when you said you wanted to be with me. How can I comprehend it? I desired to have a greater amount of personal space. In a flash, her cheeks were covered in bright red. I am seeking for additional resources. Naruto's gasp was palpable. Is that accurate? She nodded and reflected her gaze. I used to enjoy being alone, but your company provided me with a glimpse of what it could have been. I didn't have the confidence to express my feelings until our relationship ended, leaving me with no other option. Naruto's blushing was also noticeable. It had put him in a difficult position, but at the same time, he found pleasure in being loved by her. It was a delightful experience. Stunning? If I couldn't be with you, I would be happy if I could leave you with a good memory and no regrets. The alliance between our villages is still a work in progress, and there are no official records to indicate it. The likelihood of us being together again is very unlikely. He scowled at himself. I was unable to fulfill your expectations, she said. Samui let out a sigh of relief. The last thing on my mind is to assist you in being unfaithful to your girlfriend. She is not entitled to that pain. According to her, she doesn't have any interest. Naruto's chest tightening caused him to frown and acclimate. I apologize for not revealing anything about her, and I'm sorry for taking the lead on my behalf. Samui exhibited a frown. He asked, are you sorry, as she wasn't asking if he should have kept him from cheating. I should have been transparent, but can you tell me? Nope, I don't care. I acknowledge your apology and agree to it. Naruto's expression was sweet. At every stage, Samui had acknowledged him, with flaws and errors included, which he truly appreciated. He had a clear idea of his feelings for her, and he wasn't willing to let go of it since reminiscing about them was becoming more difficult. Naruto, I request you to rectify this issue. Don't let your girlfriend make any assumptions about you while you're talking to her. Remember what she did. I can't, Naruto declared. Good news. Tomorrow is when I'll meet you. She stepped out, and it seemed as though he would lose something substantial if she remained. With his hand, he led her to the spot. Naruto inquired if there was a chance for us to be together. If there is, would you accompany me? Yes, I would. No need to worry at all. Is it possible for you to wait for me? Waiting not too long. Samui wrapped her fingers around his. It's within my capabilities to do so. He greeted me with a smile on his face. He released her, observed her departure. He had to get ready for a fight, but his next stop was meeting with Kurenai. It was impossible for her to leave him be with him. Naruto had not walked on Training Ground 3 for an extended period. The brown tree branches were still present and likely to remain for a considerable duration. Genin had to be tied up there, besides him. This is where he found himself, part of a team, and where his journey as Genin began. He was set to confront a close-range specialist of Tsunade's preference. The formation of hand seals would be avoided by a close-range specialist. Despite his lack of accuracy when shooting at close range, it wouldn't be easy. The ninja's ability to adapt to unpredictable situations made it unnecessary to speculate about his adversary. At the Dragon's Claw Weapons and Ninja Apparel store, he made the decision to meet with Takashi earlier this morning. Despite his changes, Takashi was proud of his progress and gave him a favorable opportunity. He promised to sell him a selection of personalized smoke bombs at an affordable price and repair his tent whenever necessary. Samui had instructed him on how to keep his weapons in good condition, but he wasn't as skilled. She was passionate about it as a child. In general, he had a positive experience during his visit. It was the only wrinkle but one he managed to get out of his head. It was a struggle for him to concentrate on. "Glad you could make it, Naruto," Tsunade exclaimed, holding her hand on her hip. Surprisingly, she wasn't donning her green coat. Jiraiya's presence made sense if Tsunade wanted to seek a second opinion. Shizune was the right-hander of Tsunade. She was also holding Tsunade's coat in her arms. The presence of Samui and Yujito in the area made him question the reason behind their presence, despite his delight at seeing them. The third Hokage arrived at last. Sarutobi remained silent in response to his penetrating gaze, except for a small frown. He would do the same, and put on a cold front, if he didn't want to show his hand. "You're daydreaming for less than 5 minutes before your fight," Tsunade stated. "I had the impression that you were prepared, I thought." Naruto responded to the question by saying, "I was under the impression that this would be a private exam." "It is a private matter. Shizune will be our acupuncturist. Jiraiya, being your master, will make sure to provide me with any updates. I thought it would be nice to let our guests watch you put on a good show before they left." Despite not mentioning another person, Tsunade smiled, as if she were aware of his intentions. "The professor is a significant part of our lives, and we shouldn't overlook him. You mustn't hold back, because I want him to see how much you are capable of doing." Naruto's lips were lowered slightly. Tsunade mumbled, "Who is my opponent in this fight?" "It's a good question." He kept his cold mask on, but then smiled in earnest. "Grandma, do you think you have the courage to fight me? It's not too late now." Tsunade's ability to fight against him was dependent on his superior skills, and if he had to make her upset, retaliate by taunting her. "No one else was a match for us. Moreover, the chance to fight you myself was too good to be true. It enables me to witness your skills in action." And so on. Tsunade pressed her fist into her palm. "It enables me to alleviate some of my frustration." The dryness of Naruto's throat was evident. "In a just manner, I'm not going to wear the seal on my forehead. Your seal is not permitted to be used. Neither of us can use the summoning jutsu to lend a hand. The conflict comes to a close when an individual is rendered unconscious or 10 minutes pass without being present." He ingested his food and took a break to relax. Despite her fierce reputation, Tsunade wasn't invincible. He would strive to achieve his best, and then strive even further. "I'll provide you with a few minutes to prepare." Tsunade walked over to Shizune and his initial perception was that she was instructing her attendant. Naruto opted to converse with Jiraiya. Jiraiya stated that she would not hit you if she didn't get close to you. You must figure out all the details, including what not to do. I wish you all the best. The message is simple, don't panic. He resorted to blowing up airwaves. He had a plan to do that, but he would have preferred something more favorable. Practical is the term used to describe this. He looked down at Samui. The lack of concern on her face meant she had no doubts about his ability to do well. He gave her a thumbs up when she nodded in agreement. Like she had suggested, he planned to use all his skills. He caught sight of Yujito, who smiled at him. "You've got this in your possession. Don't retreat." Shizune approached her with a smile on his face. "As for me, Naruto, am I ready to start?" he asked with a nod. "I'm willing to go through with this and have no hesitation whatsoever." He was instructed to stand a distance of 20 meters from Tsunade, and Shizune was directed to remain between them. The remaining spectators were able to observe from the relatively secure forest nearby. His familiarity with the training ground, its plentiful water supply, tree cover, and a long grass field was quite satisfactory. Shizune emphasized the importance of starting from scratch. Tsunade held firm in her arms while fighting, but she hadn't acted. Did she wait for him to take action or did she try to psych him out by not doing anything? If she allowed him into the attack, he would see what she did. At first, he created 3 shadow clones. The first person moved through hand signals, while the second person hurriedly approached her. Tsunade was still in the same place. Naruto slithered through 3 hand symbols and inhaled hot liquids. The fourth seal was battered by the fierce winds that caused nail-biting force. The third shadow clone turned on the spot and ran towards the lake, just as Tsunade's Genjutsu had already penetrated his mind. Before Tsunade could deactivate it, Naruto opted for his own Genjutsu to pressure him into holding back the tant as it took over. After 2 seconds, the clone arrived and attacked Tsunade's stomach. She stepped back and allowed the blade to puncture her skin, then grasped the clone's wrist. The clone was affected by Naruto's wind and dispersed, with smoke emanating from her mouth. She raised her leg above her head. The ground sank, causing his last clone to stumble from the shockwave. Tsunade came within striking distance and used his force to strike the clone. Tsunade dismantled his first salvo in 4 moves, causing only small damage but still being able to counter his clones and prevents their destruction. Are you at their best? He stayed composed. He simply needed to find a niche for himself. Genjutsu was designed to be a distraction, leading her to assume he was farther away and become complacent. He had to make an alternative choice as he was aware that she might not be willing to attack him without his help. Naruto intervened as Tsunade moved in, preparing for another Genjutsu battle. After finishing his hand seals, he brought out a kunai and proceeded to toss it. She was about to touch her chest, but instead of stopping, she put her finger in the ring, spun it, and held the handle. Upon throwing the kunai, Naruto made her throw it back and either dodge or be struck down by his tantrum. She evaded, and he kicked up behind her. She managed to avoid that and all other threats he made with contemptuous ease. She appeared to be enjoying her status with a smirky smile on her face. Afterward, she lunged with the kunai in her right hand. He briefly flexed his muscles against hers. She assumed she took the bait and overwhelmed him, or so she thought. He implanted a chakra in Tsunade's system by using his other hand to touch her wrist. She proceeded to stab his chest once more. He stumbled forward. She appeared to have a blurry, unfocused gaze. Her jaw began to sway and she had a wobbling sound. "You're in a bad state, Nago. You shouldn't be driving that car, drivers." Naruto retreated as much as he could before ceasing. He was spot on, as Tsunade was overwhelmed by a surge of water. It surged towards the trees, eroding their branches. Tsunade was still there when the water left, but she remained damp and covered in her sandals. Her fear was so overwhelming that she couldn't shake it. It was time to finish her. He then veered towards Tsunade, ready to conclude this conflict. At a certain moment, she was frozen in time. Her eyes grew dangerously sharp the following day. With a punch to his cheek, she propelled him off his feet and through the air. The force of Naruto's thump caused him to hit the ground, knocking out the wind. After being rescued by the clone, Naruto's kunai was quickly thrown through the water by Tsunade, who then proceeded to blow up inside the same body and continue its journey. Naruto's voice echoed in his voice, causing him to sob. Upon experiencing the pain in his cheek, he swiftly swung to his feet and moved quickly. Fortunately, his temper was not yet in control. According to Tsunade, Naruto's tactic was not ill-advised. You can use your Genjutsu fast, but it was an illusion when you delayed its activation. He gave her the impression that she had stabbed him. His wound resulted in blood spitting out and flooding the field, which would correspond to the water jutsu his clone used. Her sudden frightenedness caused him to believe that she was going to be out for the count. Knowing that she was afraid of blood, he would have used it to her advantage right from the outset. Nevertheless, it ended up being a setup. He would have been done for if she hadn't enhanced her punch with chakra. 2 assaults were made on him, and one of them could disorient a weaker ninja as well. Without being in his vicinity, Jiraiya wouldn't be able to hit him. In spite of this, she would use herself as bait to fend off his attacks. I've witnessed enough. It's time to put you in your place. Tsunade leapt forward without hesitation. Upon landing, rocks, dirt, and grass covered the ground, creating a tornado-like force that propelled her outward. Naruto was struck by stray debris and his chest and arms. In the midst of the chaos, Naruto created 3 clones. They may have been separated by the dirt, but she still barreled through, her fist infused with chakras. He rolled away, his eyes widening like the size of large plates as he fell to the ground. He looked at her with a grimace on his face as he got up. One of his clones entered the fight, and Rasengan attempted to break her back before being hit by Tsunade, who used her foot movements to pivot and slap Naruto's arm. Both were hit by weak winds that sliced through the clone to strike the Tsunade. Naruto experienced a rapid chakra surge as he flew through hand seals. Tsunade's arms were positioned in front of her face, and she was quickly cut off, but it was only a deception. She replaced herself with his 3rd clone, who took the hit in her place. Nevertheless, he was prepared and unleashed a massive fire. The last of his clones added fuel to the flames with more wind, turning the stream into a wildfire. Naruto wasn't pleased with the outcome as Tsunade was caught in the crossfire. He and his clone both made the decision to run towards the trees, and it was the correct choice. Following the fire, Tsunade escaped beneath the ground and proceeded towards them at an alarming speed. His clone grasped his arm and spun, swinging him high into the air, while Tsunade crushed its jaw with a powerful blow. While still in the air, Naruto would need to use a toad to rescue him from falling. But he had other ways to move. 2 additional clones assaulted him while he was in the woods. They retreated to flat ground, eager to distract Tsunade. He had stumbled into the canopies, taking a moment to catch his breath. His actions were reciprocated by Tsunade, and she could accept any dish he prepared. Genjutsu's first attempt to distract her with his parasite trick was unsuccessful as he didn't have a medium to keep her calm. She didn't allow him to layer Genjutsu, as her control of her chakra was immaculate and she could detect any irregularities in it immediately after they were implemented. With a shield and the ability to weave around his attacks like some leaf floating in the air, she could unleash her super strikes at will. His mind was filled with recollection of Tsunade's punches, which caused their bodies to detonate and left his clones in ruins. "Leave me alone, Naruto," Tsunade declared. Without blinking her eyes, she had accomplished it. "I have to slap the taste out of your mouth." He stumbled, tasting his tongue. It was just a collection of words. He was so focused on winning that he forgot about the time limit with approximately 3 minutes remaining. He didn't have to be victorious, but rather displayed all of his talents by showcasing them. He had access to all of them, regardless of whether they were newly acquired or not. 6 clones were forced out of the forest by him. Upon reaching the grass, he executed his plan. "No, Grandma," Naruto said to his granddaughter. The battlefield was filled with the sound of a breeze that carried his voice. "You believe you're tough because you can hit hard, but that's all you need to do. Ninja or Genjutsu are not allowed, as long as the punch is fisted. What is the appropriate way to refer to yourself as a Sannin? Save the mess, save the stink. I'm aware that you're a coward and hide your clones. When you're not able to kill your enemy with a single shot, do you just run around and hide?" 3 of them were encircled by her, while the other 3 were spread out. Naruto stated, "It doesn't matter how I win, as long as I do it," in a tone. He was transformed into a "now. You're my grandma." The clones surrounding Tsunade dropped black smoke bombs. The smoke was deposited by the dispersed clones, which formed a tornado. The acrid smoke caused Tsunade to sneeze, hack, and wheeze. The bombs were not poison, but rather pepper spray. With anticipation, he sensed her movement and immediately leaped out of the trees. With a swift action, Tsunade rose from the ground and crushed the bark, shattering the tree in half. Naruto's smoke attack was still being quelled by the other Tsunade. The Tsunade's chakra was more abundant than the one she had in the forest. When did she create the shadow clone while he was taking a break? No, it was after she had defeated his clones, before showcasing his voice. The other Tsunade was defeated by his clones, but it didn't have any impact. It was a good thing that he had altered his character. "Samui, why are you out in the trees?" Tsunade inquired, gesturing over a small piece of tree bark. "I aim to have a superior viewpoint." She scowled at me. Returned to Jiraiya and the other crowds. Samui was seen jumping beside Tsunade. "You're not going to win. Naruto will come up with a way to outsmart you. Don't be anxious about that. Before going home, you can nurse your boyfriend back to health. It's not essential for me to say." The ground was hit by a smoke bomb that fell vertically. Capsicum-like smoke, which made food taste spicy, was released by the explosion. Tsunade's eyes erupted in excitement as she asked, "What the hell is that?" With a sharp thrust, Samui crouched under Tsunade's unsteady back fist. Tsunade reacted to it and gripped Samui's wrist. Despite everything, Samui displayed a smile. "Thank you, Grandma." A Rasengan gritted the Hokage's back and her face disintegrated, leaving him with a painful frown. After Samui went missing, Tsunade was shot towards the tree that came closest to the Rasengan after it exploded. Falling down, she bounced off it. Naruto expelled the smoke by blowing it out and then inhaling and vaporizing it. She had a sore wound on her kimono shirt, which was also badly injured. She was still. She wasn't a double virus, either. It was a little off. It was a near miss. If she had knowledge of his deception, it wouldn't have been effective. He refrained from transforming into Jiraiya or Shizune because, instead of convincing her with confidence, he would make a mistake in language and suffer consequences. Even so, he had a good understanding of Samui, who was capable of impersonating her. It's a once-in-a-lifetime task that he carried out. The outcome was positive then, and it happened again. The Rasengan was a risky move, as without proper control, the Hokage could have sustained serious injuries. Shizune was approaching, and he chose to give them a wide opening for his own defense. As Tsunade looked at her, she stood up, as though she had not taken a Rasengan or felt any burnt from the inferno she barely managed to escape. "Naruto," Tsunade cautioned his character to stop running immediately. Her face was scarred by a wicked frown. Is unable to rescue an elderly woman. Deceptive. Naruto's actions were reversed. Afterward, another. Yet another. How's it going? I mean, I've gone through a lot more trouble than usual. It's time to show some bravery and end this, even though he couldn't run. He had the option to avoid it at all costs. He had established his competence. By focusing solely on one thought, he was able to limit the sheer terror that consumed him. We'll attempt to devise a new attack strategy, which is not the same as the previous one. Without it, she couldn't have been at full strength. Shizune remarked, "It's time." Naruto's heart raced against his chest. Tsunade reached for her chin and made eye contact with his face. He thought that she would disregard Shizune and attempt to keep his head above his shoulders. Subsequently, her scowl turned into a smile. "The fight seems to be finished," Tsunade declared, causing Naruto to gasp in relief. She stumbled and gasped in surprise. "My back hurts a lot." Tsunade was immediately confronted by Shizune, who pressed her hands against his back. The injuries sustained by Tsunade were patched up and she could move without any hindrance, thanks to her own healing process. Shizune inquired, "Are you prepared to assist Naruto?" He nodded in agreement. A purple bruise had formed on his cheek. Shizune gently placed a palm bathed in green chakra on it, soothing his soreness and discomfort. In under a minute, his injury was no longer present. "You're a remarkable person," Shizune tells me. Shizun's expression was one of pure happiness. We extend a warm welcome to you. The presence of Shizun in his surroundings to alleviate Tsunade's discomfort brought back memories of his own efforts to assist Samui. Tsunade and Samui's connection was astounded. The coincidence that we were similarly blessed was purely coincidental. Naruto inquired if you were willing to assist the Hokage in her back troubles. I acknowledge, Shizun declared. In most cases, Lady Tsunade is capable of taking care herself. Tsunade stated that he worked on the issue after it emerged. The trade is kept a secret. Naruto appeared to have snorted it. Is that your anti-aging jutsu as well? He asked, gesturing to his mouth. Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't take my word for it. Tsunade suggested that we move on to the next person. She exhibited a murmured expression. Shizun stated that he thinks the speaker has had enough. Shouldn't we consider having another round? Although he didn't speak it out, she was correct. They arrived at the training ground's main field together. The situation had worsened as the flames persisted, consuming grass, sections of the field were removed or crushed, and there were sizable water puddles and pools that were navigable. What's the truth behind all this? Naruto questioned. We succeeded, Tsunade declared. I'll be giving you a comprehensive evaluation soon, but I obtained what I wanted from our sparse discussions. Naruto's expression was a smile. It was a pretty tough battle. I don't take you lightly, Tsunade stated. In addition, your head was becoming too large for your shoulders. If that was the term she used, he wouldn't argue with her. He refrained from trying his luck until after a certain period. According to Shizun, what is the reason behind calling Lady Tsunade grandma like Naruto? He gave a frown. We're connected through our relationship. Shizun showed a frown. Although it's not true, our Hokage isn't your grandmother, so she should have the appropriate form of address. She has the ability to accept it. Tsunade reached for her coat and dragged it underneath. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to do this, said one. Certain individuals may be offended to some extent. With a sigh of relief, Shizun stated. As long as no one's feelings are hurt, it is safe to say that this is a positive thing. Shizun, Tsunade said, I know what I'm doing. He has not referred to you as princess at all, Sarutobi declared. The third, along with Jiraiya, Samui, and Yujito, had posed as their allies. The sight of Tsunade's eyes filled with tears. It's better for you to keep that information a secret, Sarutobi-sensei. Moreover, I believe that you have played a more significant role in shaping Naruto's mindset. Naruto would not sympathize with Sarutobi, even if they noticed a slight frown on his face. Alright, of course. Nonetheless, it is important to give credit where credit is due, and Naruto was outstanding throughout the fight. The feeling of white-hot passion that accompanied Sarutobi's sincere praise left Naruto overcome by his fiery anger. He opted to doze off in bed. It seemed like a missed opportunity when the fight spilled into the woods, Jiraiya said. Thanks to Sarutobi-sensei's insight, we were able to see through his crystal clear glass. Naruto, it's not bad at all. Naruto expressed gratitude to the sensei by saying, thanks, Sengo. He had previously observed the crystal ball, but he hadn't given it much thought. The reason the old man always seemed to know what he was doing could be that he had another question to ask him when the time came. One meeting at a time. Naruto, as Yujito put it, was a very intense fight. Is it possible that I would resort to violence against you? We may discover the secret if I end up in the hidden cloud. Yujito's expression was one that brought a smile to his face when she laid her eyes on him. It's something I can't miss out on, so I'm excited about it. Samui maintained eye contact with him. It's precisely what I was hoping for. Despite being on the losing side, he managed to hold off Tsunade for 10 minutes, even pushing her into a backward direction. The fight taught him a few valuable lessons and hopefully, he made sway enough on Tsunade to secure his promotion. Despite the distance, he was closer than ever to reaching his goals and attaining her level of success. After concluding his conflict with Tsunade, there was one remaining issue, the responsibility of delivering Samui and Yujito back home. They were taken by Naruto to Yakiniku-Q, a restaurant that served barbecue and meat. Shikamaru's team was a regular client, but this was his first time entering on his own. The kebab stick managed to get the meat off and melt in his mouth as it was cooked on the grill. Yujito smiled and said, "Samantha, I'm so glad you were able to get to know us." "I'd be lying if he hadn't faked me," Samui stated. They were sitting side by side, with Yujito facing them. "In any case, he's only made progress." Naruto's expression was a smile. "I'm content that it worked out well." The conversation shifted to other areas, such as their experiences in the Leaf. After arriving at the Ambassador Hotel, he discovered that Samui had taken a long nap due to being exhausted and sore. Yujito had been touring the village for the past few days. According to Yujito, he came across Naruto's acquaintance. "Hinata Hyuga, I have nothing to lose." Naruto asked, "Are you certain?" before being slapped by the audience. Yujito asked, "What's the thing?" she said, with a frown. "She shared with me that Niji was doing a good job." After finishing a piece of meat, Samui reported that he appeared to be doing well. Yujito asked, "You happen to have met him?" She sliced open some succulent ribs, but she appeared unfocused, almost taking her attention. "In the land of rivers. Our collective effort was focused on a mission." Yujito ingested her food and washed her mouth with a napkin. "He's currently on a mission. Isn't that unbelievable?" Hinata gave me a detailed account of his recovery process. I had the impression that she didn't approve of my actions. She frowned once more. "I'm not remorseful for her actions." An official competition was conducted, Samui declared. "Niji was prepared to end your life if you refused. He had already taken the life of a fellow soldier, and he would have brought about Hiromi's demise. I wasn't really endangered, and I caused him to be crippled." Despite the fact that his right hand was not completely fixed, the Hokage required medical attention after each mission to mend it, and he also had to modify his fighting tactics to make up for the damage. If he had improved, it wouldn't have come at such a high cost. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. He couldn't fathom enduring such an injury, and it was Niji who had convinced him to ease Deidara's pain before Samui had persuaded him not to. It appeared that he wasn't the only one who was troubled, as Samui gripped her lips tightly. "I viewed the evidence." Despite the challenges, Niji persevered in his quest to continue living as a ninja. His actions have not been erased by that. She looked at Naruto. "I am able to forgive, but I will always remember it." Yujito trembled and shook her head. "I am not able to forget, but I cannot compare someone's past with their present circumstances. That's the type of thing I don't try to keep." "That's a valid belief," Samui declared, emphasizing that you have the ability to form your own opinion. "What else did Hinata mention?" Naruto asked, attempting to ease tensions. "Dozens of things to choose from. Honestly, I thought she would be like some kind of wallflower, but the girl had a spine. If you were to rematch with her, I'm curious about how she'd respond." With a shrug, Naruto proceeded to say, "I think I can't help but wonder if she did the same thing." Hinata, like Yujito, discovered a spinal cord. She refused to let him run over her. Upon finishing their lunch, Samui and Yujito made arrangements to pay the fee, including his portion. He was willing to pay for it, but they insisted on paying. He made sure to thank them and remember it. He accompanied them to the village gates, and when they arrived, he stopped walking just past the entrance. "The answer is, so what, exactly?" "This is what I'm referring to," he declared. "It is," Yujito declared. With a wide smile on her face, she turned around. It was a pleasant experience to see you, Naruto. I appreciate everything you've done for me. Naruto's expression was a smile. Don't bring up the topic. You'll do the same to me, right? Agreed. Yujito embraced him with a passionate touch, kissing him on the cheek and pushing him to Samui's feet. With her vivid blue eyes, she had 1,000,001 emotions. He didn't need to worry about this, just speak from his heart. Is it possible to convey his feelings to her through a single glance or expression, given that there were many things he desired to say about her? He didn't want to bid farewell. Would Naruto not accompany us during certain moments? Yujito asked. Naruto stepped away from Samui's unreserved gaze. It's a good idea. He put his thoughts on paper and focused on the present moment, allowing himself to be fully present in the now. It's possible that he won't have the chance to see Samui or Yujito again. During the next hour or so, Naruto spent time with his hidden cloud companions, enjoying their conversations and engaging in discussions. It appears that a group of cloud ninja would be gathering with them when they ventured into the frost-dominated land. The Akatsuki's busy schedule did not make them ill-equipped to take any risks. He had a plan to depart before that time. He longed for this moment to be permanent, so he wouldn't have to return home alone and confront a reality that seemed inevitable in many ways. He contemplated leaving the hidden leaf and finding a place to stay in the cloud with Samui. He could potentially become a Hokage in the future. Maybe not, he wouldn't leave his house. His thoughts were just in the spur of the moment. Despite feeling prepared, there was still uncertainty in his mind regarding how he could handle things alone. He had been grateful for the support, knowing that he would never be alone again. It was only a matter of time. It was peculiar that he had already reached this point. We're here, Samui declared. Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. Yeah. Yujito chuckled to herself. I'll give you a couple of minutes to say my goodbyes. She departed from them, barely audible by a typical ninja. This prolonged time had enabled him to contemplate precisely what he intended to say. Samui, thank you, Naruto said. I appreciate you teaching me how to wield a sword. I appreciate your confidence in me. Thank you for being so amazing. I am in dire need of a better partner. I greet you, Samui declared. I had a wonderful time with you and thoroughly enjoyed it. As it went, he did. Naruto embraced her with arms tied around her waist. Upon seeing her, she promptly returned his affection, and he relished the sense of warmth that came from holding her in his arms and being held by someone who trusted him and cared for him. In due course, he had to give up. After he did, Samui placed her hand on his cheek and rubbed his whiskers together. You're knowledgeable in what to do, Samui declared. I acknowledge that. She relinquished her hand and proceeded to kiss him in the same place, then turned around and kisses him again. His face was heated by fireworks that blew up in his brain, causing a pinkish tint that ran from cheek to cheek. Goodbye, Naruto. Naruto inquired, are you done yet? With a smile on his face, Samui showcased his pearly white teeth. I will come across you again, my friend. I have no idea when or how it will happen, but I'll find a solution. That's the reason why I won't bid farewell. Naruto's smile grew so big that he couldn't control his expression. It's not like I won't bid adieu, either. I'll be back to you shortly. His partner and friend left him not for his sake, but to join Yujito's side so they could return home. Until they disappeared from his view, he observed them both and felt them until their chakra signatures blurred his vision. After their departure, Naruto remained in the area, feeling the sun's warmth on his face and arms, the fragrance of pine needles and new grass, and the breeze against his skin. After a while, he found himself on his own. He was prepared. Is he truly prepared? He turned his back and breathed deeply before exhaling into the air. Regardless of the circumstances, he would be fine. The butterflies in his stomach were too much to overcome. Despite everything, he never allowed anything to stop him from doing what needed to be done. Two factors contributed to the success of the Dragon's Claw: the abundance of ninja-related weapons and gear on offer, coupled with Takashi's top-notch customer service. The fact that he had an intense interest in weapons was undeniable, and his knowledge often resulted in sales for his business and a satisfied customer. Listening to conversations can unwittingly increase sales, as they may offer valuable insights that could be utilized by a business-minded individual. The only thing needed was a bit of leeway. Naruto inquired, "Do you have any ideas for a smoke bomb that would release toad oil?" "That's the truth," Takashi declared. "All you need to do is give me the materials." "At what time do you require it?" "Before noon." Takashi's expression was a grimace. "I'm not sure if I can get it to you on time, even though I don't want to be seen as fast." Nogwish was sounded out by Naruto. "At what point did you think of all the smoke bombs?" Takashi inquired. Tiny pellets were placed inside, each colored in the same way as the others. "These are some of the items that I have on hand to help you make sense of them. Are you not satisfied with the effectiveness of regular smoke bombs?" A bright orange smoke bomb was retrieved by Naruto. "What is the purpose of this device?" "It emits smoke that is rich in capsaicin. In smaller doses, this compound can cause food to become spicy. If taken in large amounts, it can cause your eyes to water and your windpipe to become loose." Naruto expressed his delight by saying, "That's really cool," with a voice that was filled with excitement. "I'll take these, and a bunch of pepper bombs." Takashi proceeded to the back of the store. Naruto placed his hands on the counter, anticipating his return. It gave us the opportunity to talk with Naruto and have a conversation. Kurenai embraced it. Despite arriving later than Naruto, she still had the necessary items. The opportunity to listen to Naruto's dialogue was too appealing to pass up. She made a point to wander around the clothing aisles while Naruto was talking to Takashi. Upon his return, Takashi found 2 cases carrying the smoke bombs that Naruto had requested. Naruto inquired, "What's the sum?" Naruto's purchase of smoke bombs didn't justify the high cost. Naruto's toad wallet in the lime green color caught Kurenai off guard, as it was stuffed with cash. It made his success a reality. Naruto expressed gratitude by accepting the cases and saying, "It's appreciated that." Takashi's expression was one of pure happiness. "It's a source of happiness and fulfillment for me. Hello, and please see me in the future. I promise to return without any doubt." His gaze remained unchanged as he turned around. In front of him, Kurenai was present. "Good morning, Naruto," said the character's teacher. Naruto expressed his apathy and inability to care, saying, "Yo." Kurenai's face lit up with a smile. Naruto inquired, "Would you mind if I could offer to buy something nice?" His gaze was fixed on her planned purchases. When he inquired about her Genjutsu training from his apartment, she remembered them and asked if she wanted to buy something for her team. The lack of enthusiasm made her aware that he was trying to be courteous. Was Takashi's involvement significant? "I still go on occasional missions with them, but they haven't been part of my team for years. Shino was recently elevated to a special Chunin, while Hinata and Kiba are now considered Shinganes. For me, this is the only thing that matters most." For as long as Naruto had been alive, Shino was still a Chunin. It was fortunate to know that he wasn't inclined to partying. Had he been present, the party hosted by Shikamaru's mother would have resulted in her neglecting Shino. Although not obligated, neglecting her genitalia was part of her job description because Naruto was her top priority. She would also use this as an excuse to appease Shino and prevent him from being disappointed that his sensei couldn't be there for him. Naruto's chakra-wasting abilities were not wasted by her, as she couldn't do the same for shadow clones. Naruto responded with, "Cool," and his flippant responses were becoming increasingly offensive to her. He was on the verge of passing her without even a word to say goodbye. Naruto, don't worry, we can leave. I'll pay for my things and go out with you. It won't be long before it's over. Naruto's gaze widened, and he shrugged off his shoulders. Takashi, where are you keeping your scrolls of the ceiling? Naruto made a visit to that place and poked his curiosity. Sealing scrolls was unnecessary for him. The gesture was not pointed out by her, but she saw it as a reflection of the gesture. As Takashi calculated the cost of her goods, Kurenai questioned whether it was appropriate to ask for payment at that time. She had hoped to do this before entering, but Naruto's presence made her feel nervous. Takashi, can you collect Asuma Sarutobi now? Kurenai inquired. Naruto would understand that his friend was only doing him a favor, as this was just another form of kindness. An eyebrow was raised by Takashi. It is true that I do. What's the reason behind your question? He has no energy left at the moment, so I was tasked to collect his order. She handed over a sealing scroll from her pouch to Takashi, along with all the necessary documents. Takashi's expression was one of pure happiness. Agreed, I'll disclose it for you. Naruto returned to the counter after leaving. He had a blank face, and without the skin tightening around his eyes, she wouldn't recognize him as being completely distant. Naruto asked, Kurenai, do you have any plans for today? She was certain that he was trying to control his emotions, even though it was so clear. He had made significant improvements in his technique, but it wasn't enough to deceive her. 2 weeks have passed and I'm no longer in a state of panic. I need to finish some administrative tasks. I'll be in touch with you at 4 o'clock. Let's consider it a romantic outing. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't understand the situation. What triggered this? You said you were free, she explained. She held back her scowl. To what extent is this vexing? Fine. At 4, I'll be there to greet you. As for you, I'll say. Without any hesitation, Kurenai stepped in front of him. Naruto, I'm curious about it. Would you like to come back after 2? He refrained from elaborating on the matter. She couldn't allow him to escape from her hanging. It's not something that belongs to you, Naruto replied. He walked away without fear, as if he had shut her down with impunity. What took place? I got what you wanted, Takashi muttered. Kurenai extended a hand to her temple. In any respect, it is true that this is the case. Thank you, Takashi. His face exhibited a slight frown on his face as he wandered around his shop. Where did Naruto go? She frowned. I am clueless about what to do. The situation was not meant to be like that. The hospital was where Kurenai initially went to. When compared to the reports she had to compile, this would take only a few minutes. Asuma was not witnessed by anyone. Upon arriving at his room, Kurenai took a moment to unwind and disconnect from her anxieties and fears. Her ability to keep her thoughts in order was a long-established skill, but Naruto had caused them to spiral out of control. Despite being present to see Asuma, she couldn't concentrate on the task at hand. The ability to perform her duty without being influenced by emotions was a crucial skill for any bona fide ninja, but she had perfected it and transformed it into an art form. She went into Asuma's room. She smashed her throat to catch his eye as he stared at the window from his bed. He greeted her with a friendly smile, which was sufficient. You're a sight that only happens when your eyes are sore, Asuma said. Then Kurenai smiled softly. Your order was picked up from the Dragon's Claw, where I said. Upon receiving the invoice from Takashi, she handed it over to Asuma. Once you're discharged from the hospital, your apartment will be ready for you. Asuma's smile grew brighter and larger. You're saving a lot of lives, she said. What motivated you to have me do it? The Dragon's Claw can direct your orders to your preferred location. He lowered his head into the chair beside his bed. Kurenai asked, "Wouldn't it be nice if you could take a seat?" and responded by placing her legs next to each other instead of crossing over. "To be honest, I simply wanted to give you a chance to see you." "Would you have thought that I wouldn't do it?" Kurenai questioned. Most men, including myself, may find some form of insecurity to be true to their identity. Kurenai's expression was one of pure happiness, as he smiled. "I would have been interested in meeting you, but I didn't mind seeing you anyway. It's a pleasant surprise to hear." His lips were encircled by his tongue. "Are you sure it's been that long? What exactly are we talking about?" Asuma's fingers trembled. "I haven't smoked in 5 days." Kurenai exhibited a raised eyebrow. "Why did you stop?" She didn't enjoy smoking in general, but she couldn't not fault Asuma for it. "Chiriku, my friend, was killed. The thought of smoking made me recall him and I lost my appetite." Her face was covered in a frown that quickly spread across her entire face. "My thoughts and prayers are with you, Asuma. I'm here to help if you require someone to talk to." With a small wistful grunting, Asuma smiled. "Chiriku was a kind-hearted individual. He has transformed me into a more exceptional individual. The amount of time I had to ponder over everything has made me happy that I knew him. I'm thankful that I haven't gone anywhere since last time." Kurenai declared that he shares the same sentiments. Upon hearing that Asuma had been sent to emergency surgery, she was completely terrified. Despite her friend's death in the land of water, she couldn't help but feel concerned about him, even when it may not seem like it. Her scalp was irritated, and she raised her hand to make contact. Asuma was observed concentrating on her wrist when she moved it down. Asuma inquired about the location of the bracelet. It was a donation from someone. An individual who is a fan of. The morning sunlight illuminated the gemstones, and she noticed them sparkling as she held her wrist up. "Isn't that a very nice thing? I would like to have thought of buying you one." The bracelet was not a regular accessory for Kurenai in the village. She would occasionally bring it along on a mission and wear it while Naruto, but most of the time she kept it at home. The bracelet had a significant amount of emotional value. It also drew unnecessary attention. Naruto's return had her wearing it as a way of reminding herself. "The gift isn't as valuable to me, but the thought of receiving it means a lot. When I received this bracelet, my admirer elucidated the reason for giving it to me. I was touched by his benevolence." He chuckled. "He could have been lucky to make you drop your guard. I don't think it's a matter of chance." She bit her lip. The term luck was the final word she would use to describe her life. "Are you aware of your departure date?" Asuma inquired. "No, not yet," he replied. With a smile on his face, Kurenai turned away from the encouraging stare he was giving her. "I'm leaving, so why don't we just have a drink?" She frowned. "You can imagine what I am going to say, you're not over my mind." "It's true, I don't mean to be taken seriously," she said. "A moment to remember with a dear friend." Asuma was not attempting to ask her out. She expressed her disinterest in being associated with him. In spite of this, he seemed to be sincere about his desire to remain amicable. "Do you think I should consider asking out some other friends?" Kurenai's expression was one of pure happiness, as he smiled. Her friendship with Asuma remained intact despite her rejection, and she was always grateful for how she had taken it so seriously. At times, she contemplated quitting her job to focus on a committed relationship, and in retrospect, Asuma could have made sense with the situation more often. Since their Chunin exams, he had been a good friend and benefactor to each other, and they were both selected for the same team. Despite being at his worst, when he was floppy and foolish and facing the long shadow of his father, she still had feelings for him. When Asuma left the village, she took some time to figure out what she wanted. Her relationships were a one-off, but they never proved to be lasting. She had a few enjoyable moments, but she didn't want anything significant to happen. Asuma came back to the place. The 12 guardian ninjas' presence had given him greater confidence and protection, and as they spent more time together, the thought of being with him became more enticing to him. Regrettably, she couldn't satisfy his needs. She was not interested in getting knocked down like her father did when she was young, but she still had dreams of having her own life. When she became a Chunin, it would be the right time to have children. Even after being promoted and becoming the first Genjutsu master of the Leaf, she wasn't particularly interested in romance. There were additional obligations she had to fulfill, and she couldn't let them get in the way. Asuma inquired if it was possible to introduce the person in question. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't smile. "I don't think you could handle being together," she said. Although it was a deception, she had previously been dishonest with someone she loved. Asuma's face lit up with a smile. "Based on your description of him, I believe we would have a friendly relationship." She was certain that they would have a good relationship. "I'll tell you the truth," Kurenai declared. "Once you leave. If I can find my admirer, then I'll think about introducing you too. Until that point, make every effort to recuperate from your injury and put in all your efforts. Can you explain the meaning of 'yes ma'am' and his mock salute?" She gave her eldest friend a smile and then left his room as the weight of their friendship began to fall off her chest. Retaining Asuma's silence, preventing him from interfering with her affairs. She had made the right decision. If more people were injured when it was not necessary, it would not be effective. Shikamaru was encountered by her as she left the hospital. "Kurenai-sensei, wake up," Shikamaru declared. Kurenai's face lit up with a smile. "Good day, Shikamaru." Shikamaru shrugged off his worries. "As always, it goes without saying." Kurenai responded that he was in good health. "Asuma is willing to have a chat with you. It's a positive development to hear." She said, "I enjoyed the conversation with Shikamaru. Thanks to their mutual friends, they could establish a friendly relationship, and he was an exceptional young man." Her mind was captivated by an inspiration, prompting her to ask a question. Augurished with Naruto upon his return. The person who saved Asuma-sensei's life is him. Kurenai's pupils grew wide. What about the fact that he was assisted by his partner? What was the nature of his significant other's behavior? She glared at her. He gave a shrug, once again. She was quiet, but she had a nice demeanor. Kurenai had the desire to uncover all details about this mysterious individual, but she reconsidered. Shikamaru was likely unaware of anything else, and the Hokage would make her scurry for details. "Shishuto, look at me." Shikamaru's eyes widened in amazement. He was doing an outstanding job. Provided me with some excellent guidance. He smirked. He was probably doing a lot of growing up when he was away from home. The Akatsuki and all that it has to offer. Kurenai nodded as he spoke. "It's possible that he had some experience with it. It's great that you shared with me your knowledge about him." "It's your turn," Shikamaru remarked, offering the option to come up with an answer. They separated and moved on. Her mind raced back to Naruto like a mad frenzy. Naruto was a compassionate and affectionate person, but everyone had their breaking point. For this reason, she gave him some space so they could decide where to take their relationship when he was ready. Nevertheless, her expectations of his behavior were not met. Despite being angry or annoyed, he still showed her respect and affection. Despite their conversation, he had remained unapproachable and reserved. Despite Naruto's detached facade, her apology had not resolved the deep-seated resentment that had plagued him for so long. She had no idea why, but from the few clues she came across, she could already understand how he had changed over time. Her focus was on the question, why? And she would ensure that the answer was given before the day ended. By 12:30 in the afternoon, Kurenai had completed her reports with a strong and determined determination. A considerable amount of that energy was fueled by complete dissatisfaction. To some extent, she was emulating Naruto's habit of dedicating himself to every task he set his heart on. Naruto's determination was always captivating, but his tendency to bottle up all his anger never seemed natural to her. It wasn't even remotely good. Although it had brought her closer to him, there were still issues that he couldn't resolve. Despite her own ongoing problems, how could she have done so? She sighed and stood up from her desk. After completing her work, she would only need to turn it in and collect her pay. Subsequently, she would remain unharmed for the remainder of the day. She had plenty of spare time since she wasn't in charge of a genin team. Yet another way she served her community, though no longer so messy or difficult. The only thing left for her was to compile reports on internal problems within the village and summarize them. Whenever she wasn't on a mission, she found solace in administrative work. After leaving her apartment, Kurenai walked towards the Hokage admin complex, grateful for the opportunity to work from home instead of being tied up in a desk. Being a respected and trusted ninja was among the benefits one could receive. She had made a sacrifice of her life, dignity, and reputation for this village, which was the least she could do for herself. She was able to hand over her paperwork with minimal effort. The clerk on staff and she had a positive rapport together, which was beneficial. She passed the Hokage's office while exiting. Her spine shivered, and some butterflies caused discomfort in her stomach. Naruto is back in the village, stated the Hokage. It was a few hours ago when I first encountered him. Can you recall the last conversation we had? I can confirm that. Now you're aware of what to do. It's best to avoid messing up this situation. Kurenai was not yet in a bad situation, but fulfilling her orders was more challenging than she had initially assumed. Naruto's lack of eyesight was a contributing factor to his desperate quest for love and affection. Not in a significant way. She couldn't believe that he had communicated in that manner. It was a shame to be turned down alone, but she was thankful that Takashi didn't witness her being subjected to mistreatment by her apprentice and supposed boyfriend. Knowing where to begin with her understanding of Naruto's strange behavior would be greatly appreciated. The first thing is to have lunch. Her nerves were puffed up by the food and service she was about to receive. Within 10 minutes, she had reached Ichiraku Ramen. Tucci, the owner, said, "Good afternoon." Kurenai asked for a basic bowl of dipping noodles, saying, "What are you waiting for?" She didn't object to the change in Ichiraku Ramen's menu. The broth contained fewer calories, but the noodles were still flavorful. Tucci's daughter, Ayam, was able to work on her own order. It was evident that she had inherited her father's expertise or put in significant effort to become proficient in her chosen profession. Genjutsu was taught to Kurenai by her father, and she had surpassed him in this regard. It's possible that Ayam will follow suit. With a beaming smile, Ayam exclaimed, "Come and join me." Using her chopsticks, Kurenai proceeded to dig into the ground. After Naruto left the village, she started visiting Ichiraku Ramen. It was comical that she had the freedom to enter the noodle shop without Naruto's intervention to introduce her. It's possible that she went over to make up for her mistake by refusing to come with him. She didn't reveal her identity to either of them. It was unnecessary, and fortunately, neither of them inquired. She was unsure if they would be willing to disclose what she wanted to know, and after eating dinner, she decided to take her shot. "Suggest me not. Is there a problem, ma'am?" Ayam inquired. Was Naruto Uzumaki present at this location? Tucci inquired, while Ayam declined. Kurenai kissed her lips. There was some slurry in the vicinity. I had the opportunity to educate him before. He hasn't been around for too long and he always liked coming here. It was irritating that he would say to these two that they were gone, but had not informed Kakashi, Anko, or Hinata. He probably chose to leave on a condition of necessity, as he had not informed Irika Yumino beforehand. It made sense that she was included in the exclusive list, and there was no justification for her not being on it. Ayam stated that he came in yesterday. Kurenai inquired if his response to the change in the menu was positive or negative. Yeah. She frowned, as if she had no intention of being rude. Tucci placed a hand on Ayam's shoulder. Ayam, can you take her dishes? Ayam snatched Kurenai's empty pitchers and ran towards the back of the stand, keeping her distance from the audience. He said, I bet Naruto wouldn't want me to ask him about him behind his back. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't smile. I'm his mentor, not a stranger to him. If yes, I recommend phoning him and asking if it's even possible. She resisted the urge to retract the statement of the noodle shop owner. He was not entitled to shield Naruto from her. Kurenai responded to Tucci's statement by saying, yes, I will, as Teuchi was still right. Were you pleased with him? He was, of course, happy. He had people around him that he could count on. The man's statement left her feeling hurt, and he didn't mean to attack her. Despite everything, Naruto was content and content. With her wallet in hand, she handed Tucci her fee. I am grateful for your help, which is why I say, thank you. The noodles were excellent. He nodded his head in agreement. We extend a warm welcome to you. Kurenai withdrew from Ichiraku Ramen. It was evident why Naruto had a great affection for Ayam and her father. They showed him respect and dignity that few others could match, and they earned his loyalty. They developed a strong bond during the process, and remain protective of him to this day. The noodle shop's lack of a nice drink and no noodles were the only thing she disliked about it. Her noodles would be perfect served with a lemon cocktail. Despite this, Naruto could have been denied entry to Ichiraku Ramen, possibly due to his status as a Jinchuriki. It always appeared to be that. Had he been born after the Nine-Tails attack, or even before it, his family would have treated him as a typical child. Rather than his parents, they were gone, and their child was perceived as an enemy, a potential threat, someone who had to be dishonest because of circumstances he never requested. Kurenai had some alone time as she made her way to the private clearing. Her apartment's shower was the only significant flaw. At times, the water didn't reach its boiling point. There are instances where the water didn't arrive. Although it wasn't often, it was so distressing that it made her feel depressed. She was able to clean herself with complete privacy by practicing Genjutsu, as the waterfall was always very hot. In case anyone attempted to enter the area where her Genjutsu was stationed, she had the option to either expel them or keep them locked up. Afterward, it was either feasible to let them witness her or imagine her using a picture of her choosing, which informed their imagination. Consequently, her body was made invisible to others until she gave permission for them to view it. After showering, Kurenai was all smiles and dressed to impress. She walked along a significant route, passing through some of the village's forests. All of her former genitalia loved nature to some extent. Kiba and Akamaru both had a preference for exploring it, while Shino enjoyed discovering new bugs and Hinata loved being immersed in the forest. For an extended period, they had not embarked on a straightforward forest hike together. As she matured, she became more mindful of the relationships she was able to uphold. Her partying days were overshadowed by her career-oriented attitude, but that was a long time ago. After all is said and done, what legacy would she leave behind? She may be remembered professionally for her mastery of Genjutsu and dedication to her community. Despite everything, I personally take this into account. She couldn't bear to let that get to her. After a while, she returned to the Leaf Village. She didn't have many other plans at the moment, so she went back home and prepared for her Naruto date. It was close to 4, after all. Nevertheless, upon reaching her apartment, she sensed the distinct indications of a Genjutsu in motion and promptly released it from her grasp. With his arms crossed and eyes shut, Naruto leaned towards the wall. After taking a breath, he turned around to face her. "You're here early," Kurenai declared. Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. Is it possible to say, I don't know? He maintained eye contact with her, and Kurenai's breath drew his attention once more. Naruto's height had exceeded hers, and he had also undergone other changes. Almost all of the baby fat on his cheeks had disappeared. His blue eyes were so emotional that she could stare into them for hours without feeling tired when he wasn't angry. The orange shirt he wore was well fitted into his black pants. Sadly, he had to forego the gray clothes she had chosen for him, but at least a small amount of gray was present on his scabbard. Where did you learn how to wield a sword? Kurenai inquired. During my absence, I was not present at all. A higher degree of uncertainty. Despite his attitude, Naruto maintained a confident and unwavering spirit that most ninjas would be proud of. He was strong, competent, and confident. He was approaching adulthood, no longer just a child, and she could finally be with him and experience the joy of being his girlfriend. If he still wanted her, of course. Is it possible for you to give me some time to prepare? Kurenai inquired. Naruto's expression was one of dismissal. I'm not interested in anything, so do what you want. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't understand the situation. Don't engage in conversation with me in that manner. Your child is no longer your concern, so don't let your tantrum be an excuse for me. He exhibited a frown that spread across his face. Fine. It would be nice if we could talk in the manner of adults. Can you explain what that means? No deceptions. Kurenai's brain began to throb through a surge. No, not lying. What do you mean? Why are you not willing to be seen with me? Naruto asked. She bit her lip. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this matter? Provide an answer to the question. She swore off. Today, someone was being pushy. Our relationship isn't often seen, and it receives a lot of criticism from others. If you consider your reputation, it would only result in more problems for you. The reason why their relationship didn't work out was that a child, even one trained as ninja, would be easily controlled by an adult. Time was the only thing left to be dealt with. The relationship between the child ninja and the other person would become stronger as the latter progresses and matures. Naruto inquired, what is the reason for you going on a date with me? Stay patient. Kurenai paused to recall her mounting anxiety. There were instances when time was not a luxury and could be sacrificed. What was necessary became more important than what was acceptable, regardless of how harsh it sounded. You've been hurt before, and I didn't want to be the one who hurt you by disregarding your feelings. My intention was for you to feel as though you were being loved by someone. Naruto's eyes widened and his mouth ajar in response to the unexpected. He turned his gaze towards her. Bullshit. Kurenai exhibited a frowning expression. What did you inquire about? His expression spread across his face, causing his mask to break. If you didn't feel the same way, you should have told me otherwise. You know, I said it was just fine before you left, but if you were not in your apartment, then you would have left as soon as I rejected you. She gasped in agreement. It wasn't what I wanted to say, but at the same time she was unable to take it out of her mouth. Naruto expressed his willingness to wait for someone to intervene by saying, "Don't be afraid." Kurenai's expression faded away as he spoke. Although he had faced many rejections in the past, it was the fact of her rejection that caused her to feel fear. Naruto asked, "Are we done yet?" "Continue in all your efforts," Kurenai declared. She would be certain to obtain what she desired. "You're afraid of yourself," she said. "Why did you let things get out of hand so quickly?" If she had spit in his face, it would have been less gut-wrenching than the pain she caused him. "I'm not interested in that particular matter, it's my responsibility." Is it not your own perception? The way he had treated her, she was not inclined to open her heart to him at this time. She said, "Oh, I get it. The scowl in Naruto's voice dissipated as he gave a creepy, unsettling expression. "You're furious." Kurenai brushed her teeth in earnest. "It's clear that I am a good person. You can't be angry just because I wanted to keep something from you." "What does this mean?" Kurenai expressed his anger by stating, "That's the very reason I'm angry. How could you not tell me today? I know your actions are not forgiven, but it doesn't mean we were responsible for each other's loss." Naruto appeared to have snorted it. "I had one last wish, which was to keep it a secret." "What's up?" Kurenai yelled with a frown. "Is it of utmost importance that you didn't reveal the truth to me?" "It's not something I know. Energy clashes are more common among individuals. This was not a journey. Turning the tables was imperative for her, and she needed to do it promptly." "We are able to make sense of each other's words," Kurenai declared. Naruto inquired, "What?" with his face contorted in answer. Kurenai made a frown-upon expression. "You're listening to me, right? My secrets are mine, you are the same. It's fine if you don't tell me. Despite the passing of time, my love for you endures." Naruto's expression was one of horror, as he took a deep breath. "You're not telling the truth, dear." As she pondered, her mouth closed. Her eyes opened up. She had no intention of stating that at this time or in these circumstances. The reaction of Naruto was the most unsettling aspect. He looked at her with the same intensity as if she held his heart high, and he was hoping that she would crush it. Kurenai inquired, "What's the reason behind your belief that I am not truthful?" He wiped his eyes, and when he moved his hand away, his face appeared as a mask made of ice. "Due to your dishonesty, you're a deceiver." She maintained a calm demeanor to conceal the extent of his recent misdeeds, while also maintaining her composure. "Naruto, I'm not lying. I am deeply in love with you." Why didn't Naruto immediately answer, "Why not?" The coldness in his eyes left her feeling shivered. "You didn't tell a single lie for the entirety of it. If you have confidential information, I can honor it. There is a distinction between secrets and disrespectful behavior." Kurenai inquired, "What's the matter?" "Naruto, I've never disrespected you. I have no desire to be with anyone other than you." "I'm curious, really?" For a moment, she could see through his mask, witness the young man that she wounded, and feel the hope he held in his heart. "Yes, it is true, Naruto." Naruto's mouth shut, and the mask was put back on. "I have a strong conviction in you, but I doubt whether it's accurate. I'm not sure why, but I still have feelings for you," she said. There was a smile on her face. "According to Naruto, there's no need to worry about anything. We're still in each other's company. Let me assure you." Naruto's eyes were reddish. She squirmed, "Let me finish. What's the end?" "According to Naruto, if you can't forgive me, I'll fix the problem." "You know what? You don't have to hide anything from me. According to Naruto, what's up with you? Are you hiding anything?" Kurenai's anger expressed, but his confidence dwindled. Did he mean? "No, I don't know. Ask me if you can provide some information." Her bearings were regained by his sudden shout. "I have nothing to hide," she said. Naruto proceeded in two directions. There was no difference between them, and the intensity of his eyes was almost too much to ignore. "Girls, it's fine," Kurenai said. "We'll collectively get it under control, working together to move forward." He's smooching his lips. Despite their slim build, he had a knack for kissing. Naruto said, "Stop it. Stay away from it and go away." The sound of Kurenai's hissing was heard from behind him. "Wow, what the hell is this going on? Can you trust me?" Naruto scowled, his eyebrows raised upwards. Then, his lips swelled up, as if to indicate something else. His entire body was wrapped around him, resembling a wounded creature about to burst into flames. Honestly, she was terrified that this was the way he managed to manipulate her. With a longing for some somber moment, she glanced into his eyes once more and saw nothing but light. The third Hokage was the sole reason for your presence with me, as he instructed you to leave without any other issues. Kurenai's world erupted as she held herself against the wall. She made an effort to look at Naruto, but it didn't work. He was cognizant of this fact. He was aware of her actions. What was the source of his knowledge? How did he come to this conclusion? Naruto slammed his hand down hers. Kurenai, why is she hiding another lie? Say what you will, she said. I say, let's not do this to you. No. You can't snitch on me this time. She pushed off the wall and past him, taking her key and trying to open her door, but she had difficulty doing it. This was impossible for her to do. This is not what was expected to happen. Naruto said, look at me. Naruto and Kurenai were positioned in close proximity, with the latter opening her front door. Unless she decided to fight her way out, she was stuck. Her breathing was ragged and unstable. The time had passed and it was too late. This wasn't lost, as it turned out. This was not the age to panic and be frightened like a baby. It was necessary for her to govern herself. Her strength lay in her ability to manage her image and individuality. When did you become aware? Kurenai questioned. Before I shared the throne with Master Jiraiya, my stay was brief. She became aware of the reason behind his unusual behavior, as his life had been destroyed and he had lived with the remains for years. Kurenai inquired, how long has it been? When I stumbled upon you, I felt like confronting you but you weren't in the village. I was irritated, but in retrospect, it gave me ample time to consider the motive behind this action. You didn't need to be my partner for your mission, but you did. I was unable to communicate with you due to your inability to do so, even though it would have been impossible. Kurenai's last statement was, are you feeling up there? I never falsified other things. I meant everything I said to you with all my heart. Despite all of this, my feelings towards you remain the same as before. Naruto's expression was awkward, but he appeared relaxed. I admit, and to be honest, it was a disconcerting and terrifying experience. However, I came to the realization that something was happening. What you did is still the same without any change. Kurenai's expression was one that indicated he didn't understand the situation. I acknowledge that. Would you be able to give me an opportunity? What are your thoughts on this matter? It's possible that I could have met you that night, but I won't. I'm no longer your boyfriend. The face of Kurenai remained blank as she stared at him. You're doing a great job, she said. The injury she received was so severe that she felt like falling to her knees, but she managed to hold on. That's something she could cope with. I have lost faith in you. I don't think you are trustworthy anymore. I understand that you're unable to fulfill your mission, so I thought it was appropriate for her to look at her bracelet and stand up straight. With the few vestiges of her former self, she would confront Naruto with what little dignity she had left. No matter what your mission is, I'm still your teacher. Naruto's smile was genuine, and she felt a strong urge to faint and vanish. I'm still your student, right? The time we spent together is greatly appreciated by me. I believe that it's high time for me to move on from this situation. He retreated. Sakuranai, goodbye. He nodded off and departed, leaving only one last glance before disappearing when she couldn't reach him, even if she tried to. In an attempt to find some tether, Kurenai breathed deeply before losing it. She was unable to make any progress, and the worst of both scenarios appeared predetermined. There was no point in mourning outside, in public. Feeling uneasy, she opened her door without any guilt. Upon entering her apartment, she locked the door and proceeded to crawl onto her couch. While gazing at the ceiling, she allowed the conversation to unfold in her mind like a continuous video recording. Kurenai had the ability to inform Naruto that the mission was cancelled, but it wouldn't alter her actions. She lacked any trust, and he had no cause to be associated with her. Her actions had caused him to lose his heart, her trust in him was broken, and she couldn't fix it the way she wanted. She was left with only a pile of regrets and no one to blame for her unfortunate experience, except herself. Naruto's gaze lit up with a smile as he exited Kurenai. After some hesitation, it came to pass. Naruto's actions were governed by his terms of reference. Despite the setbacks, he couldn't have chosen anything else and was overjoyed with what arose. Once you're down, it's time to go. Naruto had arranged for a different approach to be taken in his next encounter. He had to gather his facts in order to do that. He had faith in his ability to succeed, but he wanted to ensure his success rather than rush into it on impulse. In the event of him reacting, there was a possibility that he would not receive the desired response or become consumed with emotions again. Kurenai's brain was flooded with pent-up emotion, but his grip on him was becoming less strong. Gradually, it would become a mere memory. Naruto decided to go for a walk after being alone for the first time. He had the opportunity to kill himself before dinner. Despite the passage of time and everything that had occurred, it was strange to finally arrive at this point. He had been preoccupied with this gathering, contemplating all the potential outcomes, and now that it was finished, he was jettisoning in an ocean overflowing with possibilities. To some extent, he appreciated having the opportunity to think about everything. He had undergone significant growth, and he now had clear indication of that. Based on some of the looks, it's possible that he wasn't alone in witnessing his transformation. He couldn't fathom that there were any villagers who smiled at him or showed respect. The village was not as welcoming as it once was when he left, but it was far better. Even though Naruto had to endure the hatred, he couldn't find any reason to turn against the people of the Leaf. He was hated by many for something he never wanted, but if people didn't get to know him, they would only view him as the victim rather than the perpetrator. Opting out of that hatred was the correct course of action. There was no doubt about it, he gained more by using his actions rather than words. Was there anything particular that had changed during his time abroad? Could it be due to his renown as the Blade of Illusion, or was it his absence that stirred thoughts up? Naruto liked having an experience like this, even if it wasn't something he needed to prove his worthiness. He received every possible level of respect and acknowledgement. The most significant aspect is that the acknowledgement was not a fabrication intended to keep him astounded. It was authentic. Naruto passed by a flower shop as he left the market district. The name was familiar to him, and he even recognized one of the chakra signatures that wandered. Inside the flower shop, one could find a variety of plants and flowers, including roses, tulips, herbs like basil or coriander, and even glass cases with stored plants. Ino, dressed in an orange shirt and white pants, came to a stop in front of him. "Why are you here, Naruto?" Ino inquired. "I was in the vicinity," Naruto declared. Ino's countenance was uplifted by his smile. "Excellent. I had a longing to meet you, but time was not an option. The fact that you saved Asuma-sensei's life is beyond me, and I couldn't cope without feeling guilty." Naruto's facial expressions were not a smile. "I was doing what anyone else would do." He made it his top priority to prevent Akatsuki from harming Asuma every time he encountered him, and also put pressure on them to stop messing with him or anyone besides him. "You persisted with your actions." Ino's gaze was fixed on him, as if she was hoping for an answer. Naruto may have dismissed her, but she appeared to be truly thankful, and he wasn't one to overlook any kind of sincerity. "We extend a warm welcome to you." He let out a small gasp of air. Ino shifted her feet and asked, "What's happening with you?" "I've made some plans for tonight, but I have to go without a movie." "Are we supposed to go on a date?" "I'm not sure. If you're not available, that is the way to go." Naruto's eyebrows lifted upwardly. Are you interested? Asked Ino. It's been a long time coming, she said. She had lost her grin and become coy. The word that came to mind was eloquent. Although he had heard of it, there were some indications that caught him off guard as it didn't appear to be feasible. Even so, it didn't alter anything. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I have my own agenda. She reacted with a jovial demeanor. I had a feeling that it was so. She briefly stopped before running over to fill it up. You're not doing well in terms of the way our date was, and I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience you may have caused. Her face transformed into a frown, as her eyes opened up. I should have communicated my intention rather than trying to deceive you into revealing anything about Sasuke. I had no thought about how you'd feel, and that wasn't even fair to you. My angry temper caused me to say such things. My apologies, Naruto. Naruto's expression was a smile. It's fine. I am sorry for your loss. She brought back her smile, which was full of glee. Moving on was a straightforward task as it wasn't his first time making amends with someone who deceived him. In addition, he was not required to harbor animosity towards Ino. She apologized, and he had already accepted the fact that she had done it. Much worse conditions had afflicted him. I'm sorry, too, Naruto declared. I didn't behave appropriately during our date, which was a mistake. I had a lot on my mind and I took it out of my mouth. Ino declared that apology has been accepted. Naruto said, that date was a complete disaster. Their ability to laugh about it was a sign that they had moved on. What are you up to these days? Ino inquired. It's commonplace, but Naruto suggests spending time outside of school and with his friends, she said. I bet you've been diligently training hard. Ino placed her hands on her hips. She smacked her eyelashes and gave him another coy smile, saying, You saw that, didn't you? I'm overwhelmed with pride and happiness. Thanks to Sakura's inspiration, I have strived to become a better version of myself. You've observed her, have you? Naruto nodded in response. It's been over a week since we last we were on mission. Her strength was exceptional. Are you swayed by that statement? She was striving to become a more formidable ninja, and I couldn't resist. I think we both agreed that she was exerting too much effort. Ino pressed her lips together and asked, What's up? She was working herself to her fullest potential, as if she had never done anything before. I desire to exceed your boundaries, but her behavior was excessive, causing her to express concern if someone tried to assist her. He questioned whether Sakura had knowledge of her actions and why she would push herself to the brink, even though it meant she could stand on her feet. Are you willing to do anything for her? Her blue-green eyes widened in amazement. I did it. It made her take care of herself, and every time she was sad, I told her that there were more things to look forward to than what she had set as her goal. Naruto's expression was a smile. There are moments when you require a little perspective and someone to talk to. Her shoulders dribbled, as if the tension was peeling away from her frame. I have no hesitation in saying that. Ino maintained her position by twirling her ankle and staring at her feet. Naruto's personal preference was to have no one else present. He comprehended why Ino's father was anxious about him bonding with his daughter, but that didn't mean he wanted to see him. There would be no worthwhile discussion on this topic. Naruto, where did you find your significant other? Ino was fixated on him with an eloquent gaze. I'm not sure if you meant Samui, but she was gone home earlier. Why do you feel the need to ask about her? Her gaze pointed towards you, suggesting that you possessed an aura. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. Is it not significant? She's from the hidden cloud, right? It's not a big deal. Looking at Shikamaru, he seems to be always in the same place with this girl from the hidden sand. Yeah, please. Ino shut her mouth and untied it. You're not exactly a girl, but you know her. Shikamaru engaged in a battle with Karui from the cloud, and he has not seen her since. Naruto spit his penises out to the audience. During my training in the Hidden Sands, I formed a strong bond with Temari and became good friends. Ino muttered. No. Shikamaru stayed within striking distance from Temari, making him closer to her than ever before. It wasn't easy, but Ino was now interested in his relationship with a woman she had never spoken to. Why are you so excited about this? She asked calmly before raising her fist. According to Naruto, love is always present and unavoidable. Despite your significant other's love, I am convinced that you deserve a chance to be with someone who truly loves you. Before Naruto could even clap, a smile appeared on his face. Thanks, Ino. You are also in this group. With a smile on his face, Ino expressed her joy. Naruto was eagerly anticipating dinner at the Nara household, allowing some time for reflection before heading over to his house. Upon arrival, he was treated to a feast. The presentation of rice, potatoes, beef, and stir-fried vegetables was so delicious that each one melted in his mouth. The chat was primarily about casual discussions. Naruto disclosed to Shikamaru that he had encountered Ino when they were both in the same boat. Although Naruto had not given more insight into Shikamaru's mishappiness on a date, he was aware of the situation. It was discovered that Shikamaru had come to Asuma the morning before, and Kurenai had reportedly inquired about him. Naruto had conveyed his knowledge by saying, "It's good to know." He had disclosed to Shikamaru that Kurenai had taught him Genjutsu, but he was unaware of their relationship apart from being a teacher and student. It was pointless to inform him now that it was over. As a Genjutsu master, he had no official reason to associate with Kurenai and would only say that if asked why, she hadn't even seen her again when pressed. It's conceivable that he could reveal the complete truth to him when they were alone and it became pertinent. Naruto opted to reveal another undisclosed information. With his picture of his parents, which was perfectly preserved in an orange scroll, he displayed it around him. Shikamaru inquired, "Why do you have a picture of the fourth Hokage with you?" Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness, as he smiled. "My dad's reason for being, as he is my father. He is accompanied by my mother." Naruto was observed by Shikamaru as he looked at the picture. "I never expected it to happen." Naruto asked why it took you so long to uncover the answer, while holding his smile and rejoicing. "I wasn't able to find the answer for myself. According to Yoshino, your mother looks very similar to you. A few months ago, Naruto disclosed that you discovered your parents, as he said. I was told by my godfather who they were. It's an intriguing legacy to strive to achieve," Shikaku remarked. An eyebrow was raised by Shikamaru. "You're implying that you didn't know who Naruto's father was, which makes you uncertain." "I doubted myself but didn't." Naruto's teasing was humorous. Despite being unaware of the secret, why did Shikaku, the Hidden Leaf's Chunin commander, feel it was necessary to keep this information from others? Jiraiya even believed that his parents were more trustworthy than anyone else. Yoshino punched Shikamaru in the face as he opened his mouth. "Naruto, it's important to know where you came from. Your parents must feel proud of the man you have become." The warmth in Naruto's cheeks was palpable. "Thanks, Yoshino." Yoshino's expression was one of pure happiness. "Wouldn't your godfather have told you about your parents?" Naruto proceeded to inform his surrogate family, including incorporating some of the stories that Kakashi had shared with him about his father. He felt a surge of pride when he told some of his friends and family how great they were, that their beautiful parents were awesome. He shared the secret for this reason, as he had confidence in the Naras. Minato and Kushina, who were his parents, kept it a secret from him, even though he wouldn't say anything loudly. Without a doubt, he required more stories. He aimed to gain an in-depth understanding of his parents' existence by learning as much as possible. Yoshino suggested meeting them, saying, it would be nice to have a good time. Shikamaru remarked, yeah, and said, I hear you right. Not only is your dad the fourth Hokage, but they also have a cool personality. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness. I also want to meet and greet you, too. Naruto's story and dinner were eventually finished as he continued with it. He was extremely relaxed, a sensation he hadn't experienced for quite some time. At times, he felt at ease, but persistent anxieties always lurked beneath the surface. Those concerns were almost non-existent at that point. The Nara household was darkened. By night, and Naruto played some shiki with Shikamaru on the outdoor porch. His lack of enthusiasm did not hinder him from getting into the groove. Despite his failure to win, he did manage to convince Shikamaru to adopt his mental approach, which was a victory in itself. Naruto was asked by him, when will I succeed in defeating you, after his fifth consecutive loss. Shikamaru gave a smirk. You'll keep pushing forward even when the wall is not stopping you from winning, especially if you have a strong desire to win. Under his breath Naruto screamed. Shikamaru was a good listener, but it's not as bad as when he turned his back on him. A tactical retreat is worth considering, Shikaku asserted. He was positioned on the pillar beside them, with his arms crossed. Winners can be successful, but making a quick decision is not the same as losing. It's a reasonable assumption, Shikamaru suggested. Daddy, do you want to confront Naruto? Shikaku muttered. Naruto, what did you want to tell you? He retorted with one of his own smile. You're on your way, bro. When Naruto was playing, Shikaku took over his son's role and pondered every move he made. It was apparent to him that Shikaku was primarily reacting to his gameplay, occasionally positioning one piece in a way that could have resulted in an effective counterattack. He never followed up on it. Taking those pieces would not have been too difficult for Naruto, who had to alter his plan as he was already doing so. Naruto pushed forward without prioritizing a single offensive plan. He realized that having a few items in reserve could be advantageous for him, and Naruto was close to winning something for varying periods of time. Naruto's offensive was crippled when Shikaku realized he had become tired of his own reaction. Naruto clung his jaw tightly as if to demonstrate the action. Don't take it personally, Naruto, Naruli warned Shikamaru. The truth is, Dad rarely loses. The third Hokage was the one who defeated him, according to Shikaku. He started to restructure the content and speak in his usual manner. You had a few good moves, but you displayed an excessive amount of respect. Take advantage of any opportunities you get, and don't be afraid to take risks if you have the means to do so. Although I could recover what I lost, you would still have put me at a disadvantage. In a legitimate combat, it was crucial for him to understand the fighting spirit of an adversary before dismantling their tactics, or else he might be caught off guard and end up injuring himself. Nevertheless, he was aware of Shikaku's perspective and planned to implement it as soon as possible. Will you be able to play again? Naruto asked, shaking his head. At first, do you have a different topic to discuss? Shikaku responded by placing his hands on the shiki table, relinquishing their pieces, and gazing at Naruto. Shikamaru's eyes were inherited by his father, but the scars on his face and long, sharp gaze gave him a distinct presence, derived from years of wisdom and hard work. Shikamaru asked if he could give us a moment and shrugged off his expression. Stop being yourself and move on. Naruto was left alone with Shikaku as he entered the house. The moon was almost full, and the stars were brightly shining above. Tonight was a peaceful and restful night. Naruto briefly absorbed his thoughts. Shikaku posed the question, why did you feel the need to keep my father's name under wraps? Naruto remained silent, hoping for him to speak up. I would predict that the purpose of this was to shield you from external intrusions. If you didn't know why, it was likely to provide you with some protection. It's necessary to seek advice from Lord Third. If the yellow flash were to have a child, people would flock to our village. Once they see you, they assume you're the child they found him, her with his eyes and hair. Without knowing, it would be impossible to ascertain their suspicions. He intended to express his determination to fight back, but he'd better be a childlike figure. He had the benefit of having an ANBU squad for protection during that period, but they weren't invulnerable to him. Do you think they would take the risk? You've heard about Hinata Hyga, but not directly. In fact, it is. They were unsuccessful and utilized the threat of war to seek restitution. They were able to achieve their objectives with just a hint of luck and some deceit. Agents from the Hidden Cloud or Hidden Stone, as well as those linked to the Akatsuki, may assume that you are somehow related to Lord Fourth, even if they don't know your lineage. A blonde hair and blue eyes don't make you ineligible to prove your heritage, but it would be adequate to risk losing an orphan child. Furthermore, you're the Jinchuriki of the Leaf. You have the option to take their revenge for your father's actions or remove a potential danger, while those who find out about the nine-tailed fox may abduct you to serve their own agenda. Naruto's expression was a frown, as he contemplated it. Shikaku's speculation was likely true, as there was no indication of him being in real danger from a foreign enemy. He could claim to be free from danger, which made the third believe he was actively working to protect him from situations beyond his immediate control. Although it was speculative, he had to ask the older player if Shikaku was on the right track during his initial discussion. I'm curious, but the Hidden Cloud came to our attention because the Raikage's top scout observed me while I was on a mission. My mastery of Genjutsu was only artificial and unfounded. Shikaku's expression was one that resulted in a frown. I'm curious as to why he didn't disclose your parentage until you became a genital survivor. Did he share any knowledge about the Nine Tails with you? He nodded and rubbed the hairs on his chin. I have a memory of that. It's important to inquire with him, as I previously mentioned. It's the most effective way to uncover the truth, and you've affirmed your loyalty to the Hidden Leaf. If that's not enough to keep him happy, I'll be your steadfast companion. Shikaku has thanked me for the opportunity. He bowed his head in a serene manner. He could potentially ask a second question to ensure compliance with the rules, given his previous inquiries. The day after my friendship with Shikamaru, he extended an invitation for me to visit him and Yoshino. What is the reason for me visiting you so soon? You formed a friendship with Shikamaru, and I extend an invitation to all of his friends. He posed the question of whether Temari had been invited after Shikamaru became her escort, but he would have to bring a girl home to meet his parents. You didn't receive an invitation to do it? Why didn't we come earlier? I used to hang out with Shikamaru at the academy, right? The conversation caused Naruto to feel remorseful. I took it into consideration, he declared. I never harbored any resentment towards you for what you had in mind, and I was never afraid that Shikamaru would be negatively impacted by his reputation. He experienced a decrease in his vision due to it narrowing. It's not true that everyone agrees with you. Shikaku's face contorted into a grimace. Inoichi's intention was to protect Ino from anything that could potentially kill her, and his fear of your image was unfounded. Despite his words to you, he eventually felt remorseful. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. It's a good thing to hear, I suppose. You don't share his traits. In that sense, I'm not at all sure. I inquired Lord Third about your situation before I proceeded to do anything. Despite being an outcast, I trusted his words and decided to take his words seriously. After finding out you were coming over, he told me to continue. He widened his frown. He could have adopted him or demonstrated that he wasn't just a shiki piece, but also had the ability to convince others otherwise. I'm thinking, that's all. It was his opinion that their relationship wasn't based on any particular mission, but it was always the right decision to confirm it. If Lord Third instructed me to watch over you and made it a mission, would it have any significance? Shikaku asked. In the beginning, Naruto would have responded affirmatively to Shikaku's inquiry, but that was just him being unfair. I would say yes if only to remain loyal to the village, because you'd be manipulating me for no good reason. I would refuse to do it just for the sake of seeing how I was, without any obligation to make me feel like a member of your family. Shikaku remained silent, his eyes closed for a split second. He uncracked them. Naruto pressed down a shiki piece while asking, "What's the point of this inquiry?" "I was only interested in hearing a different viewpoint. Many things have transpired, and I'm eager to grasp them all rather than rant about them. I had a feeling that it was so. If you were not a ninja, you would have allowed it to slip away. Your focus is on the purpose and execution of a mission, not just its existence." Naruto's bludgeoning occurred as he smiled and his lip was raised. "You had it perfectly sorted out. He may not be able to retire and work his way into the ranks of Koyuki's production staff or become a ramen chef or Samuus masseuse, even if he had ties to the ninja system. Luckily, he had a fondness for ninjas. His passion was to enhance his abilities and take on challenging missions while proving himself as a shinobi. Loyalty missions and other covert operations were not well received by him. Why did they target individuals who served their community without question and didn't want to be victimized by resentment, even though it was for the sake of protecting them? He had been a constant presence, even when he was not in favor of it. It was fortunate that he had never been requested to undertake such a mission before. Sarutobi had no objection to Kurenai's surveillance of him, as she would either teach him Genjutsu or act as his friend and mentor. The issue was that she made the decision to become his girlfriend solely to ensure his loyalty to the Hidden Leaf, and also made up her mind by claiming to want to spare his feelings for him. The situation was so tumultuous that it was the primary reason for his difficulty in pardoning her. He was unable to have faith in her due to her mastery of illusions and intimate knowledge of him, leaving him without any insight into the origin of the lies and the truth. Considering all of this, he was aware that Shikaku's insights reinforced the ideas Gaara had expressed to him. His understanding was that he was approaching Sarutobi from the point of view of a victim, and if aimed at defeating him, resolutely had to broaden his perspective and see beyond just the surface area. He could only obtain the answers he desired through that method. Shikaku inquired, "What else?" "Okay, that's it for now." Naruto's smile was so warm and affectionate that he tried to express his gratitude. "Shikaku, I've learned a lot from you, what can you tell me now? This is of great importance, far beyond what you would expect. I'm happy to guide you in your endeavors." Shikaku chuckled. "Life may not be perfect, but if we take each day as it comes and learn from our mistakes, then life is made up of learning." Upon reaching the red light district, Naruto experienced a feeling of exhaustion that consumed both his mind and body. He had experienced a lot, but he had learned something from every encounter. He fought alongside the Hokage, using a range of tactics including new and old ones, such as smoke bombs bought from Takeshi's shop. Ino apologized and he spent time with the Nara family, while also receiving valuable information from Shikaku. The most significant event was his separation from Kurenai. He had intended to provoke her so that she could not perform as effectively, but she was able to change his mind. He found her to be very good and amazed that she answered almost every question he asked her. He fortunately fulfilled her wish and terminated the relationship on his terms. Regrettably, he hadn't completely destroyed the conversation. Apart from not confessing to the truth, Kurenai also professed her love for him. To tell you, it was genuinely terrifying. He was puzzled as to why Kurenai would maintain that she still had feelings for him, regardless of the mission or not. She was a professional, so how could she detach herself from her emotions and complete the task without being able to tell the whole truth to him? It was frustrating because it made no sense at all, but that's about as far-fetched as this. He had lost his desire to be involved in this prank, and nothing she said or did not say would change that. Kurenai's continued display of affection towards him made him aware of the situation, which was oddly necessary. He would be weary of Kurenai's teasing, even if he had never encountered Samui. Even if he was doing it for himself, knowing there was another woman who appreciated him made the decision easier. He heard a sweet voice from one of the establishments in the red light district coming from as he approached his apartment. It was almost like a high-stress rush. His unmarried status gave him the freedom to do as he pleased, including losing his virginity if wished. While it was not for him to be saved from a fateful encounter, his desire to have sex with another woman was unwavering, and he wasn't ready or willing to make that commitment due to Kurenai's rejection. Samui provided him with hope and confidence to bring down his walls, and if she was present, he would probably be happy and grant her what she wanted. He had to wait because she was gone. His exhaustion persisted and he was unwilling to go to sleep at all. Fortunately, there were methods to alleviate the tension, and by following proper tactics, he could resolve issues. He had never been inside the building when it was open for business, which was packed with both ninjas and civilians, as well as attractive women in kimono who were available to serve excited customers. She was situated on a wooden platform in the middle of the room. She sang about letting go of unrequited love, her fingers spread out on a silver microphone. The presence of an instrument playing behind her made it difficult to forget him being present as everyone was watching the singer passionately sing her song. 2 golden needles held her dark brown hair in a bun, but when it was loose, it would fall down her shoulders without any deviation. Her body was concealed by a blue kimono, but her ankles, wrists, and even the slightest bit of skin would be exposed at times. As she neared the end of her performance, the singer opened her blue eyes to a round of applause that was full of warmth and enthusiasm. She was still as captivating as ever. "Thank you," she declared. "You're all too generous of yourself." They stayed in each other's eyes and she smiled to her lips. She phoned a strawberry blonde young woman and whispered something in her ear. Within a few moments, that same young woman was by his side. "Good evening," she said, tilting her head slightly. "After she has finished her set, Misane will come back to you for a visit. I'll take you to a private room so you can wait for her." He looked towards Misane, who had started singing a new song. The story appeared to be about a young woman discovering that her partner had returned home from the war. "The sound of her coming from the room is audible to you." He smirked. "Let's get things figured out for the moment." The young woman, Yumi, quickly led him to a familiar room with bright red lighting and strewn couches. "Are you fond of anything to eat or drink?" Yumi inquired. Naruto responded with a reply of "No, thank you," instead of the expected response. He was given a simple smile by Yumi. "Very well suited. If you need any refreshment, please use the bell as an alternative to calling 999. Thank you for your contribution." Naruto ceased to stare and listened to Misane's song as Yumi left. He was able to hear every word because there were speakers in the room. The sensation was intense, and he could feel the pulsation of her energy through his sensor. After completing her performance, he was aware that she was heading to this room. It was a stroke of luck that he was already set for anything. He was clean, had a shower before eating dinner. His belongings were secure at home, except for a few scrolls, and although his usual clothes were clean, they were not the same as the ones he wore in his battle during the noontime. With a beaming smile on his face, Misane entered his room. He was already standing to greet her with dignity. Naruto, with her sweet husky voice, stated, "It's been a long time coming," the show continued. She proceeded to walk around the table as she passed through the room. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness, as he smiled. "You had a great time tonight, my friend, and I couldn't find you enough. Thank you for your contribution. Hello, how's your day going? Did you do anything cool?" she asked. "I can't believe I've been amazing," she said. "Due to the increasing demand for live entertainment venues, I've made some changes to my schedule and renovated this building. I've also enlisted some new staff members to lend a hand. Yumi is among the group of them." Naruto's eyes lit up with happiness. Risa's a sense of wonder, very good. If someone wants to employ you as an escort, would you still be willing to do so? Yes. According to Naruto, what's the reason for your interest? I am seeking your aid and cannot fulfill my expectations. She surveyed him, scrutinizing his every move. Even after our last meeting, you've grown to be quite attractive. It's been a prolonged period of time. The intensity of his smile diminished. I didn't mean to avoid you, but I got a girlfriend and I did not want her to know that I was in this place. Naruto questioned, do you have a girlfriend? Didn't you fear that I would take away your company? I didn't want to cause any trouble for her. She maintained a constant smile. I'm not at fault, and I don't think you're guilty. He resurfaced with a smile. Thanks to all of you. Is your girlfriend aware that you're still alive? Her gaze widened slightly. I want to come and meet you, what's the rationale behind it? In the event that occurs, sit down and enjoy yourself. After he did, she emulated him. Naruto asked, what can I do for you tonight, with a fist before moving on. As an escort, how do you balance your work and personal life? Can my client have confidence in me even though I'm aware that it's not a genuine relationship? Masane quipped. Those are some fascinating queries. I'll do my utmost to reply. Our relationship remains real, regardless of the financial aspect. Before making any arrangements, I make sure my client is fully informed of the anticipated time they will spend together, in order to ensure a positive and enjoyable experience. I attempt to achieve that by setting boundaries. When I'm not available, or if there's an emergency situation, I won't be spending time with my client. Unless their partner allows us to tie the knot, I won't make any deals if they are already in a long-term relationship. Although I am seldom required to do so during a date, I have the freedom to terminate it at any time. Other rules exist, but they are the ones that I consider to be the most significant. Naruto's eyes flicked as he gazed. That appeared to be a considerable amount. Are these rules appropriate for your clients? Despite some adjustments, they have been effective for me. Do they have the ability to manipulate you or your staff by manipulating you? I've never had to confront such situations before, but I can confirm that it has been a rare occurrence for me. Nevertheless, when I have encountered them, I've sought out ninja assistance to resolve the issue. My team includes individuals who have undergone ninja training. So far, everything seems to be going smoothly. Masane, who had helped him through his dating difficulties in the past, wasn't part of his life as a ninja, which is why he wanted to ask her. Masane's response was characterized by her business-like demeanor, which was precisely what he wanted. Naruto inquired, what occurs if a client becomes involved with you? Masane sighed deeply. It's been that way before. I've had my eye on a client before, but it didn't work out because my business was important to her and she wanted me to stop working as an escort. Despite my objections, we decided to part ways. Due to my busy work schedule, I haven't had any romantic relationships since then. Naruto stated that it was a difficult situation to handle. She smiled and reflected with a tearful demeanor. It was true. To prevent harm or heartache, I and my client have established boundaries to ensure their safety. If our relationship is honest, it's better for both of us to try and reduce as much attachment as possible. It's a fact that I never promise love, and it always makes you feel like your trust was broken. Naruto's expression was one of a frown. It's a great deal of torment for me. I ended my relationship with my girlfriend because of that. She was essentially taking advantage of me, even though she didn't have to date me to maintain my trust. Despite everything, she developed feelings for me. I had always assumed that she could perceive it as a job or some other type of situation. Her lips were tinged with ruby red and she had a frown on her face. Naruto, I regret having to see all that much. Thanks, but it's over. Was your girlfriend honest when she said she was using you? Despite my explanation about her actions, she persisted in asserting that she still had feelings for me and cared about me. Despite her insistence on feeling loved and wanted, she couldn't confess to manipulating me while maintaining her calm. Masane reached out to him, her soft, smooth hand stretched. He embraced it, and as he squeezed her, the heat from her skin blended with the warmth that was felt deep inside him. I'm not sure what you're referring to in your conversation with your girlfriend, but it seems like there are two possibilities. She either became trapped in the lies of her own mind, or she was being honest when she said that she cared about you. Did Naruto experience a moment of coldness during your relationship? She said, she did exactly. Masane's pupils erupted in delight. I expected it to be. It's likely that her feelings for you contradicted her aim. You must not forget why you are doing what you do, or you will be lost. He became aware of the reason behind her violent reaction when she approached him. She failed to disclose the reason for her failure, which he didn't understand. Was there something else that prompted her? It would be more advantageous to be clear about her than to lack knowledge of what she chose. Ultimately, it was inconsequential. It was inconsequential. I haven't made any regrets about anything I did. Good. If you had to make your position clear, it would be the most significant action. Her blue eyes were dazzlingly bright. Realize the experience of being together, but avoid comparing yourself to the past. Is that something you can do? He would be fine without Kurenai. He was deserving of love and the opportunity to receive it. She said, yeah, I can. I am aware that I can. Masane expressed a smile. That's the type of thing that appeals to me. What is the explanation for this statement? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.